just fix the setup here. All right. Okay, cool. And let me just fix that there. Fantastic. Let me share the screen. Let's go. With this. All right, that's cool. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's a bit messy. It doesn't work on portrait, but that's okay. All right, sweet. I think, can we see the screen very well? Not so well, so let's just do a bit of config, guys, so we can get this stream rolling. Okay, we can see a little bit. Not too bad. Okay, let me fix the chat. All right, bit of setup. Let's move this guy a little out the way. Let's hide you for now. All right, that's good. Okay, cool. Let's check the live status. All right. That seems like we are rocking and rolling. Fantastic. Okay. Awesome. And let's move this over here and we'll be ready to get going. Okay, I think I should probably post in my community real quick. We're going to be live talking about building with our glitch harness, just in case anyone wants to join. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Okay, let's give them a link. Sorry, guys, I'm doing this solo. And I'm working it out as I go. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Right. Welcome to Glitch Cat Club. For those of you that don't know us, we're a community. We help people build AI. We were started by a couple of practitioners who between us have, something like 20 years of experience with like machine learning, that kind of related algorithms. And of course, since the 2023 push for LLMs and AI, doing this stuff. So the whole point of the community is kind of twofold. We're really passionate about educating people, specifically cutting through the noise or the shiny objects. Look here, look there. These are live sessions that we kind of started when we were thinking about this product, our own little system. We call a harness, of course, for those that are less familiar. The harness is kind of the scaffolding around the AI and how it works. And we were building this. We wanted to show people the right way to develop with AI, and hopefully they can pick up lots of neat tricks. They won't be told to check out the latest GitHub repo or download skill packs. And if anyone has any kind of questions and things like that, then they can pop in, say hi. We're always really happy to help. You can check us out at www.glitchcatclub.com. So today, I thought it'd be a great, fun one to show people how I develop with Glitch. And what better way or project to do that with than to actually develop something for Glitch itself within Glitch. It's a bit of a wild use case. It's an incredibly complicated delivery. And I thought it'd be awesome to kind of spend some time talking about how we approach these kind of really difficult problems. And there's loads of stuff that you can learn along the way. So before we get started, I thought it'd be a cool idea to just discuss, how we go about this stuff and how we teach this stuff, right? We like to use a methodology called APIV, APIV, which is an acronym. It stands for Align, Plan, Implement, and Verify. And of course, with everything that we do, we're always trying to automate that process. And so generally speaking, I just wanted to talk about what alignment actually is. Let's say that you want to build something with AI, right? You might have a little conversation in your coding agent, like your terminal, right? Like I've got here in front of us. And you might say, hey, I'm using Claude Code. But as you can see, I use pretty much everything, including my own local models that I train for certain tasks. And the idea is that your objective pre-plan, right, is always to make sure that the AI model that you're working with really understands what it is that you're trying to do. Like AI is great at sounding confident because of the nature of AI and the way that it works. And so this is a really important step. You don't want to jump into planning. Something that I see catch a lot of non-technical people out and kind of vibe coders, if you like, no code, understanding at all, is that they don't ask enough questions. The AI will come back and say, oh yeah, we need to do this by applying this script here and doing this codey thing here and this technical language there. And they just go, oh, cool, like AI knows what it's doing. That's not alignment. That's trust, right? And we can talk about how we can improve trust in those use cases a little bit later. But honestly, this is a recipe one for a disaster. I would say in this APIV workflow, this align, plan, implement, verify workflow, 99% of your time should be spent in this alignment phase, as a human in this loop. 1% in the plan phase, and the rest should be autonomous. So this is where you need to go back and forth. You need to ask questions. I don't understand it. Explain it to me in an easier way. Have those conversations and make sure that you understand the exact expectations of what is going to be presented to you. If anything is loose, it can go wrong. This is the number one trick. And there's no GitHub repo. There's no special tricks, right? This is the trick. This is what the really popular skill, ironically, that Matt Pocock created was about, grill me, right? And the idea was that you would have this grill me, right, thing, which is a really interesting way of saying just make sure that you line, but it doesn't teach you what you're meant to be doing, right? And you really should be deeply aligning. Sometimes for something small, I just want to create a little landing page and put a couple of buttons here and there, and I want it to read like this, and Ideally, I want this font and this color, and that kind of thing you can just do straight in the terminal, right? You can just have a conversation, work it all out, align it, and then move on to the next part of this APIV methodology. But if you're dealing with something far more deep, far more complex, like the delivery that I want to start working on today, and I don't know how far we'll get, which has multiple plans within a master plan, you might have heard this term of a PRD, a product requirement doc. Think of this as a kind of pre-plan, right? This is where you have a space where you can work through all of the different aspects of what you're trying to deliver. And it's very easy to feel like creating a PRD is what you should do every time. It absolutely isn't. If anything, it causes a waste of tokens to read, to write. It's not, it can cause complications. AI loves to write long documents. It gets to a point where it's literally impossible to review. And the truth is most people don't read it. Well, that's literally a pointless thing. That's the opposite of alignment, right? So this is something you should only do when you're developing a very significant task, and you must read every word. Now, of course, you don't have to, but I'm telling you the trick to make sure that working with AI and coding projects is 100% improved. So that's what I've done here. I've gone through and I've developed this product requirement document. I've tried to flesh out as much of it as I can, and I'll talk a little bit about that process in a little while. I've even gone so far, because this particular project has some UI elements, I even thought as far as I want to see visually exactly how this is going to look. I don't want to describe it, right? That's not the way to do it. Ignore this. This is just an evaluation tool in the system. I'll hide that for now. And even with this specific delivery, I've gone through everything that I expect from a design perspective: what fonts, what scales, how I want everything to be. I've gone as far as to drafting via HTML, which is a great language that AI is really good at doing, exactly how I want things to work. I've had to create a bit of logic to test that things work. And these are just mock-ups, right? But the principle is that I'm trying to create a visual design that is bite-size replicatable via, say, a different language like Vite, that can, so ultimately I can already sense what is going to be delivered. This is the extent that you sometimes need to go to when it comes to alignment. And I think you're starting to see why this can take a long time. Once you have alignment, and like I said, that can take time depending on the scale of what you want to do, and you've asked enough questions, what I often recommend is, and again, this is subject to the scale of what you're trying to do, right? Often this isn't necessary, is that you can run what are called adversarial passes. You can allocate those to other models. You can ask the same system to do it if you only have one type of subscription or something like that. And the goal of those adversarials is not just to run an adversarial, which is aimed at reading through everything that you've drafted and finding problems and poking holes in it, because it will always reply with a problem. That is the task, and it will always do that. What you want to do is identify the big ones. So what are your concerns? Where are you unclear? How will this link? You said that when I click this button in the UI, it's going to link here, but I don't know how you can prove that, and how are you technically going to do it? And, these are the types of questions you have to get into that habit of asking, depending on the nature of what you're doing. If it's a database and so on. And sometimes AI will reply, and these responses will get longer and longer and longer. The best advice I can give is go slow to go fast, right? So start slow, take your time, read everything. Make sure there's odd little words: must do, may do, could do. These all change the way AI will interpret what you're saying. You have to be very careful when things break. Why did you do that? Because you said you must do. right? So, there's a lot of that kind of very careful thing. Remember, it's a language model, right? So my recommendation is spend as long as you can in that process. Now, if you're happy and you've done it in the terminal, and you've done a little bit of jazz with it, and you've got a little quick feature, fine, you're ready to go to planning. If it's a big one like this, you might create a PRD, go through this process, align. Then when you're ready, go to planning. Okay. So a lot of people have plan tools. In Glitch, in our harness here, which is available for our community members, which is a deeply architected system. What you're looking at right now is just a back end, if you like, right? It's like looking into the source, right? It's just kind of a folder directory of code. The system is 99% code, 0.1%-ish shell. So it's almost entirely deterministic. That's what makes a great harness, in my opinion. It has very competent memory architecture that has been tested, evaluated at scale, performance optimized, and so on. It's geared up to be a skeleton for a meta harness for agents and other things and wild things you can't even imagine. And this was the product of me and Chase, my partner at Glitch Cat Club, who was a scientist by trade. And, we had built our own personal life systems. And so the goal here was obviously to develop something from the ground up where we corrected all of our mistakes. It self-heals, it self-maintains itself, its structure, it has best practices in its tooling, how it searches things. All the novelties, graph linkages, graphify, all this kind of stuff. We're coming from a place of experience here. I was setting up graph architectures as a data management head in investment banks for well over 10 years, well before AI. So I can tell you that those types of challenges can't be outsourced and offshored in any social capacity or software capacity to AI. It just doesn't understand logical modeling effectively, ontological modeling, and all this other technical stuff that really makes it work, yet alone the tooling challenges, right? The fact that it goes to grep by nature, and I don't want to get too technical, but it goes to grep by nature, and so multi-hop traversal is all that kind of jazz, right? Great. So keeping that in mind, we built our own system, and within that system, we have a lot of deterministic skills, not your typical word-based skills. But I do have very specific planning skills. Now, because this is a glitch feature that I'm planning and not like a member, you're looking at the development environment, right? So I've got a little bit more control in the system, a lot of things that you can't do as a member, like destroying engine files, or, there's a lot of safeguards and protections in the system. I can do. So I have to be a little bit careful. And the other really amazing thing about Glitch is this is the one place you will always operate, right here in this actual brain. All of your projects sit here locally in workspaces. And each workspace, for example, here I've got a website and other things. I've even got this here, which is what we're going to be working in Glitch Member, which is the entire brain repeated. Because of course, when I'm working on Glitch as a feature, I have to develop it in a sandbox. And this is my sandbox, and that sandbox can be pushed to the repo that our members engage with. And then with a simple command /update, I can pull it back into my own brain and system. And so I'm in line with the repo, and members can do the same. They can just /update and pull it in. And so this is an interesting use case because this shows how competent Glitch is actually working with this kind of mono repo shape, 50 different directories, 100 directories, not making mistakes in where it's working. Each repo has its own Git, its own rules, its own GitHubs. Nothing gets confused. It's great. It's like working out a terminal with CD on steroids, right? And there's so many advantages to doing that. And the system understands this. It maintains this. It's very deeply architected through things like capability references and filing indexes. It's got great reflex, to solve problems. It naturally has its own internal algorithm to solve problems. What tools to reach out for, what skills to use. It's just constantly being optimized and hardened. So this makes for a neat case because this is about as complicated as it can get, I think. Building a major release patch of features, working in a sandbox, in a monorepo on the same engine, which can get very confusing, using the skills and everything else. So we've done the alignment phase. I then would have used this skill, which is glitch feature plan. And that's a deep directive on how to plan, which we've done. That plan is always placed without my direction into the appropriate place, which is my plans folders. Plans get executed, and once they're done and approved and pushed, they get naturally archived. All of that is autonomous, right? All of the state persistence, the memory, I mean, everything, right? So that's the beauty of it. So we've got our PRD, which was there, and I gave you a little scan of that. And then we've got our plan, right? And this is our plan. Now, this is a very technical plan, and it took a while to get through, but that's because it's a huge delivery. I don't expect your plans to ever be anything like this, but the idea is that you're addressing all of the concerns, and you're addressing things like testing and spikes for things that you're unsure about, no-go-go situations up front, right? And that's what the whole point of alignment is. And that's the whole case when it comes to the plan skills within Glitch. Glitch does this autonomously. It understands this. So that's what planning is done. Once planning is done, Glitch hands you a little neat command, and it's glitch feature execute. So if I just go into my execute pane, I'll just set this up ready to execute. So where are we now? We're in Opus 4.8. We're on max effort, which I think is worth doing because it needs some deep reasoning here. I've got a little bit of extra credit this week because we had a reset. So I'm going to set my system to have an advisor. I want Fable 5 to be the advisor. So I'm simply setting up this Claude feature, which uses the advisor tool. And what it will do is Opus 4.8 on max will execute. Usually that's hugely overkill for any development. But it does support Opus 4.8 asking Fable for some help when it gets stuck, right? And there's little rules around that. You can read about that on Anthropic's own website. Some interesting results have shown that even Sonnet can perform at almost Fable levels when it's got Fable as an advisor, as long as the plan is strong, right? So the plan gave me a command. Here it is. No, it's not that. So I'll go back to my plan. In fact, I'll just ask it. I'm going to use my voice here because I find working with voice is a little bit easier. We're about to start the execution plan for the glitch feature execute. This is the large plan that we've been working on. Can you just give me the full command because I'm live on stream and I just want to do this properly. I just want the one line. Thank you. So I'll start it like that. So the idea is if you've spent all this time in alignment, you've spent all this time in planning, and you're ready to implement, and verify and implement should be autonomous, and this is what I hope to show you, is that the system should pretty much near one-shot most things. May come up against the occasional difficulties. Hey, Kem, spinning up the daily memory consolidation, that's great. This is just the system in the background picking up memories from other sessions autonomously. This is something unrelated to the executions, to the glitch harness, and it's going to rush off and consolidate memories and get what's relevant. And while it does that, it's going to answer my question. There it is. There's my command. Glitch feature execute, and of course, it's the argument, which is tasks dashboard feature plan, which is the one I showed you here. So let's clean this up a little bit. Fab. It might stumble here and there, but you're never going to get something that wasted a bunch of tokens and whatever else. Generally, this system I've tested at scale on more agentic, long-running loop-like system streams, multi-agent workflows and so on cloud-hosted equivalent brains. And generally it one-shots most things, assuming that you've invested a little bit of time in the alignment phase. And we will be introducing skills and reflexes that are as potent as glitch, feature, plan, and execute for alignment too. It's just that because alignment is a little bit more qualitative, and we can't have a deterministic process there with UV running under the shell, managing all of, say, the Python scripts for data flows and so on, it's a little bit harder because you're actually requiring a little bit more reasoning from the AI and the system. So you need to have some pretty clever ways of approaching problems and red teaming them, and how autonomous adversarial loops work as you build that out to make sure that you feel relatively safe and supported. Now, of course, the correct way to really cover the unknown unknowns is not making sure that your system understands itself and knows every node and all of its code and has to load it all into context every time you operate. It's about making sure that it has the right context at the right time. That's what memory is for, if it's well architected, and tooling is set up correctly, and the architecture in the system is efficient and performant. The solution for managing those types of problems is really effective testing and test suites. And glitch is no different. I hear all the time, I made a change somewhere and it broke something else, right? That's like a classic. And I've seen so many over-engineered solutions for this, right? The answer is really simple, guys. We've been doing it in dev forever. Blast Radius is managed through regression tests, and you can create a test suite, and Glitch has a 2,000 or 3,000 test suite that it runs on everything it does to make sure that nothing else broke. That's the whole point, right? So even if something's broken, it's isolated to what you've done, right? And yeah, we can talk another time about how to create really good tests, right? Because sometimes things a test is creative and it doesn't actually realize that it's failed. It's checking the wrong thing, and there are some little crazy AI nuance. The way you deal with that is through something called mutations and teeth, but that's a whole testing philosophy. And where appropriate, when there's ever a user experience element, you also want to run some test cases in user acceptance testing, UAT. In other words, going into, say, a dashboard, touching the feature, playing around with it. Is it what I expect to see? And all of that needs to be done. If you find yourself not aligning properly, you'll also find yourself adding things as you go during the planning and execution. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted when you did this. Can you change this? Can you add that? Okay, this is the recipe for context rot, right? And it's a disaster. Other advantage of doing it this way and using really effective deep planning and alignment phases is that you can run context a lot longer. In the old days, 200,000 tokens, 180,000 token compact, you really didn't ever want to get that high. It was very hard to do any meaningful work because the model just started to feel dumb, right? Yeah, the attention sinks. There's a whole technical answer for this. A lot of interesting research on this by Hugh et al. And other people. But fundamentally, what it comes down to is that the system over time starts to pay less attention, and with that comes degradation. So it's called attention sinks, if anyone's curious. So the way we manage that is by really deep planning. So when you're executing, there's not much reasoning at all. Then you can run these contexts to 4, 5, 6, 700,000 tokens and feel relatively safe. And you're supported by, the system's own testing cycle. Okay, so let's move into that execution phase. As you can see, the memory keeper just ran. It would have done this autonomously. And in my case, it says backing up any project to its own private GitHub is now live for members. Because I released a feature related to that, a small fix for someone in our community. It's saved, there we go. It's saved for specific memories. It's been indexed because part of my memory system, which is located here if you're curious, glitch mem, don't worry about that obsidian, that's just to view certain files, is here. And this is where all the stubs get drafted and managed. This is an autonomous system, right? I don't touch this. It's kind of, it just runs in the background. It's where everything gets seeded. And then I've got a mixture of clever database solutions that manage a lot of the fundamental data flow to avoid it being in text, located here. I've got some local models that do some certain things like indexation and a couple of other things. But I've also got this database here that I manage locally for a lot of the way the memory architecture works. And it's awesome. I'm loving it. So you've got a mixture of, you know, semantic kind of optimized RAG for longer, deeper, you know, memories, more specifics in kind of dream state, local, upfront session start memory. You've got cached memory, and then you've got grep-based folder structure-led searching and routing for immediate next task. Then you've got native memory from within Claude, which are called memory pointers, and that whole system together works beautifully in my experience, right? And it has a great way of self-healing itself too, and clearing up mismatches in context and things like that. Okay, so let's get into it. I could clear this and start this again, but I won't. I'll just kick it off here. So as I said, we'd run the planning. At the end of the planning phase, we were given a command. And so I'm simply going to place that command, and look, it's already giving me a pointer because the system knows. And that's it. Glitch feature execute. Now, members, if you're watching, and I know some of you will be, you don't have the feature execute. That's because it's native to me as a developer and Chase as a developer, because it's specific for using our sandbox and so on. But you have the equivalent skill, which is just glitch execute. And you can see that here in your skills library. Oh, there we go. Skills. You have, see, these are grayed out, the features, plan and execute. And they work in a very similar fashion. So all good. You can also follow the APIV workflow. So let's go. We're set up on Opus 4.8. I believe our advisor is Fable. And let's kick it off. Now, usually what I do at this point is I would just go off, you know, have a coffee and just come back and check in occasionally, because I have a lot of confidence. Now, this is a deeply complicated release, right? I can't tell you. There's all sorts of things going on. First of all, obviously, we're working in the sandbox. There's a lot of database work. There's a UI, there's background hooks and safety gates. It's got to be cross-platform, Windows, Mac, Linux. It's got to deal with the member side context, because I'm a developer, but the member side works a bit differently, so it needs to always correlate that. And there's a lot of quite clever things that we've theorized, Chase and I, that we are trying to implement that we think in theory can work, but we don't yet work, right? So we've got deep mutations for that, for our things. We've got a very deep structured checkpoint derivative. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But I think what better way to see it, right? Build in public, break in public, right? If it breaks, that's great. I don't mind that at all as a developer. I'm very used to that. So what are we doing in this first phase? Well, this is phase 0. Actually, you can see it right there, CPOA. That's commit point 0A. In other words, it will complete this. Then if everything's all good, it will commit it locally, right? It's a commit point. It's like a little checkpoint, right? CP also stands for checkpoint, so maybe that's a nice a nice thing too. But it is a commit point. So the system's familiarizing itself with the plan and what it needs to do. So what are we doing in this phase? So the first CP0A, B, C is really about doing all of these tests to see if even any of this will work. That's really it. So this is all those assumptions. So this is the scary stuff, right? So CPOA is really about proof. There's nothing formally being built. It's going to document a bunch of terminal probes. It's not going to create any feature code. It's going to check, the why is really that all of the load-bearing assumptions on this project get verified and against a real machine, right? No theory, right? And so we're just going to be spending this first stretch proving assumptions, right? So let's see what's going on. It's giving me a bit of talk communication. You might be familiar with this. It said I've read the plan's spine, etc. Contributor is another word for developer. So it's saying that the contributor answers, my developer answers, because I've had this deep alignment. The decision set, all of phase 0, and it's going to repeat, I think, what is it? And CPU1's task list, good. So it's got a good idea what it needs to do. Here's the intended approach, shape of the work. The plan is far bigger than one context window because Glitch understands that context can become a problem. And 67,000 in plan alone. Let's have a little read. See, and I don't often read this stuff, but I think it's quite fun. Since we're on a live stream, I'll just have a look. 13 core checkpoints, 6 satellites. That's fine. So I execute checkpoint by checkpoint. Good. Starting point, CPOA, pre-told gates. Fantastic. It's going to say it's going to validate the sandbox rooted session because it knows it's a feature, so it has to not work here, right? It has to work in the specific workspace in here, right? Which is a copy of what I've got here. I know it's confusing. Welcome to development. In a mono repo specifically, right? Let's have a little look here. We've got some deliverables. Okay, fine, good, yeah. Branch 1, yeah. My open question for the advisor. So Opus is using the advisor. And the advisor is down. Oh, that was unexpected. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it there. It's a shame that Fable is down, but I've got Fable credit, so I might as well use Fable. Hi there. I just saw that the Fable advisor tool was down. And because this is probably the most important and complex part of the development in which we have to prove a whole bunch of things, field tables, decide loops, all being proven live, the handshake, linking a terminal to a task, 3 ways into a dashboard skeleton, etc. I'm going to prefer to use my outstanding Fable subscription. So keep that in mind and continue. Okay. So that's fine. Opus is overkill for execution, right? I would generally use Sonnet, but this is a super duper complex part of the project, right? And I really want to try and get through it. That was why I wanted to use the advisor, but the advisor tool is down. And so to speed things up and to get the ball rolling, I think what I'm going to do here is just let the Fable run out of credits. In fact, let's check how many we got. It was reset yesterday, and I think I get up to 50% a week. Let's check. Claude. Well, I know it's going to end eventually. Let's see my Claude. Now, I do have usage here, but it doesn't split it by Fable because I've not updated because, it's a short-term thing. I have used just under 50% of my Fable, so that's about 25%. So almost all of this usage over my 7 days, which was reset yesterday, which is great. I was actually maxed out yesterday, so it was a good time, and my reset's on Tuesday, and today is Friday. I've used 26% between yesterday evening and now, so a few hours, doing a few important things. And I've got another 25%, so I can just keep an eye on that, and I'll know when we need to switch over. All right, fantastic. Right, let's see what's going on. Here. I'm always so tempted to just like, let's see what kind of questions we've had. Now, of course, generally when you're working on many features, I'll have multiple split panes and terminals and bug fix over here, one's searching a GitHub issue or whatever it might be. But because this is such a sensitive development process, I've got just a single pane. I don't want to be context switching and having to think. I want to keep my eye on what's going on. Reading something as simple as the fact that the model tool was down, right? Missing that here, the advisor was down here, all right, is nerve-wracking. So you've got to be a bit careful with this stuff, and I'd say know when you need to focus on what's in front of you, and know when you can kind of let agents run the show for hours on end and iterating. And of course, it depends on what models you're using, how much you want to use. What are you asking here? So 5.6, yeah. OpenAI, I think the OpenAI models are amazing. I'm a big fan. I've been using, I think my favorite of the three, the Lunar Terra Sol wave, has been Terra so far. I haven't run evaluations. It's mostly, I did a short personal benchmark, which is a database rebuild. And yeah, I found it amazing. I had some really nice, I saw a magical moment last night when I first used Sol, where I had a script that was around 110 lines that was breaking, and it fixed it. But it was, I got the diff back and it was like -30. And I was like, wait a second, I've never seen minus when AI does anything. So that was amazing. And it's done some pretty neat things. Mostly, I guess I said, it's just feeling circumstantial. It seems token efficient, seems fast. But yeah, generally, I've been enjoying like Terra for adversarials. I think it's really got some really cool like red teaming kind of potential because it has some interesting ways of looking at problems. It doesn't do the whole Mythos chaining type security stuff, but it's still pretty interesting nonetheless. Right, let's have a little read of what's going on. So a lot of this might not appear to make much sense to you, but it does to me because I've obviously been the one who has been keeping an eye on things and planning it and aligning it. So, you can see we're working in the workspaces, a glitch member. So it's reading these files, which are synced with our core files here. So it's looking in here, it's looking in here, it's reading stuff from here. Yes, the system is set up to work with any agent, although primarily it's tested on Claude. So, we're improving that all the time. But, models are fun. And as you can see, as I said earlier, we've got a couple of interesting things going on over here for different models and stuff like that. So yeah. Let's look here while I'm waiting. Maybe I can find some fun Instagram tools. So the overall objective of this project is that glitch, like I said, this is about foundations and a skeleton in the harness and architecture and the meta harness that's above it. So this is currently built on top of Anthropic's TUI, but it's very easy to move it out of there. So it's kind of compromising along the way, and it adjusts accordingly, because you just never know, right? I personally don't like it. One of the biggest challenges with working with Anthropic at the moment is that a lot of the really neat stuff, like the way you interface with the system, wanting to be able to access it from your phone or whatever else, if you want to run on an auth package, looks like won't be possible in the near future, right? And that's because of what they announced about their agent SDK and their -p moving over to a separate meter in your usage, which is called programmatic usage, which really limits your ability to use auth, unlike OpenAI, who seem to be fully supporting this idea. So people that use agents like Hermes or OpenClaw and things like that, it just doesn't really fit that in the long term, albeit that in the short term, it is still available and you can still use it. But obviously the vision for an autonomous system and a life OS like Glitch is that, it can do a lot of these things while you sleep, when your system's off, which means it needs to be hosted virtually. And running those kind of, I like the term heartbeat that I think was coined by OpenClaw, basically just schedule of tasks and pulsing, like a daemon would. You want that to kind of be always going. Being able to trigger loops from your phone, like we have in our own systems. When we run Glitch in the dev mode, I want Glitch to be able to look in my calendar in the morning like it does, sees that I got a meeting with someone, looks into my people database, understands who that person is, runs an OSINT automatically, checks all the information, the latest people intelligence, creates a brief for me, WhatsApps me in voice using a local model, and I just listen to the voice note on the way to the meeting with some prep notes and things like that. And I want to be able to engage with other tools and integrations like Slack and, be able to communicate from a better interface and all this kind of stuff. So it's very difficult. So right now we're trying to see how far we can go building the skeleton without -p and agent SDK. And so far we've found that being constrained actually creates really interesting solutions, and we've learned a lot, and we like hacking at problems. We're hackers by trade. In fact, Chase and I recently, I think, placed second in a data hacking event within AI Jack's community. And so that was awesome. And so maybe we can share some of the details for what we built, because we think it's super duper cool. It's the classic, how do you know what's trending in AI report kind of vibe. So yeah, maybe something we can share with you guys in the future. Generally, Chase and I like to live stream together, but this is the UK hours. Chase is based in Denver, and most of our members are based in the US hours or Australia. And so generally this is a quiet time, which is perfect for me because, I just figure, hey, I'm going to build some stuff and I can just do it here without any stress and just go live. And just, yeah, if anyone wants to come in and ask some questions, super happy to help. Right, let's have a little catch up. Fantastic. And so I can open the shell here if I want to see what's going on. Control O. I'm just going to go in. This is some technical stuff, but don't worry. So it's a bunch of test scripts. Well, it's based on the official scripts that are Python in the system. And it's running those in its own contained environment to see what's going on. And as I said, this first phase is very unexciting because it is literally just checking the feasibility of some of the wild ideas that we've had. So it's about those load-bearing assumptions getting verified against a real machine before any actual real coding work is done. And it is inherently a go or no go. If something hits here that's wrong, then we stop, right? Now, usually that's not a situation that you ever have to deal with, but the nature of what we're trying to do is so complex that, and there is no benchmark for it, right? There is no other people doing it. We tried looking, and so we'll see how we go. We feel pretty confident that we solved it. It took a lot of back and forth with AI, a lot of adversarial, sharing it with people that I think are very talented, and discussing the problem. I always find feedback and people, using our brains, right? Sometimes you just got to go back to a pen and paper and just really think about the problem. So this is good. Let's see what's going on. It looks like we've got some background agents spawned. So far, this is going very well because we have a stop gate for when things go wrong. So it would stop and tell me, and you can read some of this here. So this is the task, and it's looking at the mutation tables for tests, right? It's teaching from our skill how to create mutations. So it's creating tests, and then it's checking that those tests actually measure the problem that we're trying to solve by turning certain things off and intentionally triggering the test to fail so that it can say, good, the test is working, and we can go. This is what mutations are really about. And in fact, it's probably a good time to touch on some of the, that kind of language in the system. So mutations is one, and to do that, you have to give it teeth, right? That's the language that you want to use. Understanding ontology and language is really important because fundamentally that's what you're dealing with in an LLM. There's a great story I've heard from a friend who was working with an AI model several series ago that used the language wind down a database, meaning not delete everything, but meaning, just, stop it running. It was in its testing. But of course, wind down is language for delete it, kill it, right? And so if you use the wrong words, it can often cause serious problems. So thinking about your language as best as you can, talking in your native tongue, is always the best approach. Someone once said to me that AIs are like, a word complete on steroids. I think it's not entirely true, but it's close. It's a good way of thinking about it, right? If you say I'm on my, and then your WhatsApp says way, it populates way as an autocomplete. It's because the probability of the word being way is really high, and LLMs work the same way. So if your words in sequence, tokens, if you want to be more specific, which can be partial words, are not carefully constructed when you speak and communicate, then the probability of the next word being right and for the system to understand you decreases, right? And you create more noise in the tables in the back end, all of these matrices in the latent space to actually process what you're saying. So this is kind of the deeper, more technical way of thinking about it. So language matters. When you're learning how to do this stuff for the first time, finding out what words really mean, push, commit, merge, if you're dealing with GitHub, what do these words really mean? You don't have to always understand all the deep technical within reason, unless you're, trying to do something that's more, public facing, large client product like a SaaS, then you maybe need to invest a little bit more time in it. Right, let's see what's going on here. So it's finishing these field tables that we were talking about. That's good. A little bit of context switching. So it's drafting the CPOA field tables, right? So then it's going to do the decide loops and proven live, which means it's probably got through the foundation of O setup. Now it's doing CPOA, which is correct. V9 is just a reference for the specific task item in the plan. I know it's crazy that I recognize these numbers. It's how much I've been looking at it. So we're doing this because the data model is the product, right? And if a field in the data table story is fuzzy, the feature built on it becomes fuzzy. So what we're going to see, is the field table document, then a real run against all of my own real pending queue in the system. I have a proposal system in Glitch. So, when it reads my emails, when it reads my transcripts from meetings, it will take note of like tasks, to-dos that need to happen or actions. It might identify new people that I should know, that I'm talking to and engaging with, and it makes proposals. And those proposals at the moment are written in text, and they're a bit of a pain, but this delivery will create a UI so that we can just check things off and what have you. So it needs to make sure that the way the database is stored on those, the new schemas that we're creating, the new tables, works. So that's what this is about. Very unexciting, but critically important. And you can see it's the people Python script within our scripts folder within Claude that we're testing, but we're doing it within Glitch Member, which is the sandbox within our workspace, within our Glitch Brain system. So everything is great as intended. These are the edits that it's making to make the system work from what it was in those scripts, because those scripts were already pre-written, and updating it. So I'm just having a little scan. Now I understand not everyone is familiar with code, and but if your planning is good and you ask the right questions and you align well, you don't have to worry about this stuff. I'm only really checking this stuff deeply because of my concerns. And as I mentioned, we're going to check the field tables, then we're going to check this decide loop. So this is the decide answer loop. When a member types an answer onto a pending card in our UI, and it's a proposal for, hey, I think you know this person, they can click yes, add him, or not this one, or there might be a comment. So this is that whole test, that not just that it can process that, because that's obviously quite easy to build, but it's the whole loop of how the system talks with each other, because I'm building a UI at first on top of a terminal, which is quite a hard thing to do. Can you imagine? You're working in the terminal and you want it to engage, and you're not allowed to use Agent SDK or -P. So we have to build a server locally to do this. This is our skill, which needs to be updated to facilitate some of this stuff, which is fine, which is just our memory keeper. It's that thing we ran at the beginning that kind of checks everything's in sync. It also runs a morning process, which is once a day, where it does this like a dream and checks for transcripts and loads of other things. And again, we've not had any in our person skill, because our person skill is the deterministic code that drives the system. You see, what we have here is for all of our skills, there is a reflex. So when we do certain things, these are all the scripts that determine how the skill works, right? There's no words here, really. It's all codified, right? We want the system to do as little as possible, right? We want AI to be involved in this as a harness as little as possible. Okay, good. And for those that don't understand diffs, I know it's pretty straightforward. The reds are when we delete lines of code or lines of comments or whatever in the documents that we have, and the green is when we're adding. You can see this awful habit that AI has down here. We've written 4,778 lines, and we've taken away 98 in total, which is to be expected, to be fair, for this particular delivery, but it would do it anyway, even when you're trying to do something where it shouldn't be. The only time, if you refactor and things like that, obviously you do expect some reductions. But yeah, so unfortunately, AI loves to over-comment, and the code quality isn't that great, which is why after a lot of this deep work, we do have to get into the nitty-gritty, because this is a system that we want to be really robust. But it gets you a lot of the way pretty quickly, and it's improving all the time. And there's lots of ways you can improve the quality of code. There's great coding standards, there's boilerplates, things like that, example code. And what's great is that when you build in a system like Glitch, where it's already got some really good quality code, is that the system tries to replicate the way it's already been written. It's really good copycat. So if you've got a bunch of code that's already been written really beautifully and it looks into that code to make changes, it follows that same pattern. So it's something that gets better over time, worth upfront really taking care in the early days when you're building a system. Great, so it's done the setup. It's now the test file. Every acceptance criterion from the mutation table gets its red line. So we know, in other words, let's prove that when the test fails, it actually fails. The build is complete doing that. We're going to regenerate this skill edit, then running the new test suite, all right? And that's what we're doing. So fingers crossed, guys, for CP0A, which is one of 3 big scary moments. I think B is the really, really scary one. So let's see. I would say that I would bet quite a lot of money that if you were trying to do this without proper alignment, this is absolutely going to fail, or you're going to miss all sort of problems because your testing isn't effective. Now, I know this whole stream has been really super technical, but unfortunately, my vision was, oh, let's prove building something with Glitch, and let's do something really complex so that it shows how powerful it is. But actually, I think in hindsight, now I'm thinking about it, it would be neat to do something that's a lot more accessible for you guys to understand, like creating a web page or something like that, a little calculator or something, just to show you how capable it actually is in a way that you can understand. And to show that full process, I think it'd be cool to do a live stream where I do the align, plan, implement, verify completely. I think that would be a better way to demonstrate this. But here we are, so I'm just going to continue. It's looking through the decide loop here. It's testing that. And you might not be familiar with running so many tests, 15 passed in 2.52 seconds. Great, UV, so this is the Python side. If you're not familiar with running this many tests, that's why things break. And I can do a whole stream on how you can create better tests and never have to worry about this ever again. Now, we've had a test fail here, 15 green, test failed, but that might be intentional because I don't know if this is the mutation where it's checking that these ones that are passed are real passes, right? So how do we prove that? By breaking the thing that we think should trigger it and testing again, proving that it fails, and so on, which I think is what is happening. This is mutations demonstrated, right? Side columns got, yeah, okay, fine. So I think it's changing it back from, or not. Let's see. Okay, good. One thing I've noticed is obviously we're executing in Fable. Fable's a really bad communicator. It just kind of hacks at the problem. I've actually proven that in my own evals. You can see here when I was looking at Fable versus Opus in the system, this is the wrong turns. And Fable just hacks and hacks and hacks at the problem, while Opus just kind of steadily gets it done. Failed actions and so on. But time to an answer, Fable's so much quicker that it gets there anyway, and it makes it feel like it did a great job. But actually, in reality, it's just hammering away, which is probably why it's been so good for getting things done autonomously, because it just hacks at the problem until it solves it, and it's pretty good at understanding when it's got it right. So here, work restored. Now the remaining 6 mutations, so it did run the mutations, that fail was intended. So now the remaining mutations cycles through a single driver that applies each break, runs its target test, and restores unconditionally. And finally, no git involved. Fantastic. So it's a lot of work. This is a huge development. It's probably going to take all of my tokens for the week, but that's okay because I don't know what you guys are doing on the weekend, but I'm going to be spending some time with my lovely family the one day I get a chance to on Saturdays, and then picking back up around lunchtime Sunday. You can start checking some AI news out. Yeah, Grok 4.5. Yeah, Grok. Very impressed. Yeah, very impressed. Yeah. For me, it's really a race now. Which system has enough compute to respond quickly on deeper agent set flows, which is the most token efficient. All this stuff matters. So this is some database related stuff. Let me just pay attention. Okay, a couple of Python test nits. This is just when the words are either too long, too short, a bit of corrections. It's just going to correct them, and nothing to worry about there. Just knitting them. Row. Okay, fine. And we're testing the decide loop Python script. Appreciate this is heavy duty work. But in reality, I wouldn't be here, right? I'd be off doing something. I'd be working in another terminal pane, but I'm trying to conserve all of my tokens for this monolithic task. So I'm not going to be wasting any tokens or anything else while this is going on. But as you can see, I haven't had to engage at all so far. And just to understand, even though lots going on, we're at 290,000 tokens, right? Which is very safe. We've got our full cash. And our usage is looking pretty nice. We're working on main because this is showing the Git of the main branch here, not the workspace. If I was on the API, I would have spent in the 4 hours and 20 this today, $200. Wonderful. It's currently in the ops ref. No, it's not. That was my fault. It's because I left it open. No, it is. Interesting. Okay. This is just an Excali draw. Okay, fine. And if anyone wants to learn about evaluations, I've got a whole space here for how to do proper evals. Could maybe talk about that another time too. Would love to know what everyone else is up to, how they're using AI, what their use cases are. I'm always curious. This actual whole release was sparked by a small observation from one of our members who was creating a bunch of workspaces for their business, business development, things like that. And they were getting frustrated that sometimes when they were working on a task, there was, they maybe forget, or the system would forget where it should actually do the work, even though we do have a system for that, but reflex can sometimes overrun. And they were having some challenges with cross-seeding, putting stuff in the wrong place and so on, right? And because this is local, it doesn't fall within the file maintenance infrastructure. And so the idea was, okay, if we created a task-based system, such as, let's go to some of our mock-ups. Here, if we had a task-based UI and you could create these tasks, and then when creating a task, you could allocate which workspace it belonged to and link it in the system. It would know always, just like my sandbox, where to do things. And then, we could extend that much further and start building out the UI itself and start giving functions to actually execute this stuff either through, a loop or, our APIV workflow and other workflows, in the future, self-defined workflows, creating your own system harnesses and pipelines where you can then just define a few things and then click go, with a budget set, and off you go to the races. So that's the end state that we're moving towards. Very cool stuff. And there's a lot of neat agent infrastructure, this idea of having, an orchestrator. You can call them whatever you want, right? Like a COO or whatever it is, who, delegates tasks to certain agents that are specialists in certain things. And, that just runs autonomously as agent teams, or if you're on Mac, like a CMux, TMux type situation, opening panes and what have you. Very cool. And this is what I want to see right here. Excuse me. Setup. Well, this is the home setup. Let's see. I've got a kind of vertical screen and short screen setup, which is great. I like that. I often like working in a terminal on a vertical screen or reading long form reports and things from a long page. And then I like to do most of my coding on a typical, 1920, 1080 kind of state system. So the workflow again is, it's an APIV methodology: align, plan, implement, verify. So align, agree what you're building and why, in a nutshell. Plan, turn the agreement into checkpoints a machine can follow. Then attack the plan before trusting it using adversarials. Implement, build and commit size checkpoints, each proven before the next starts. And then verify. Green tests aren't enough. Every test must be shown to catch its own failure. And that's where mutation tables or on-camera UATs occur. Great. So there's a lot of deterministic stuff going on in these tests, which is why things take time, even with Fable. But you can see that from a token perspective, it's been pretty timid for the period. We are on max reasoning. I didn't change it. And like I said, super overkill could sometimes even be worse, but it's necessary for these specific 3 stages, CPO A, B, and C, because there is some complicated problems that can come out, and I needed to stop, think, hack away at the solution. And part of the execution skill is any deviations are communicated. So once we get there, you should see that. It's also running the full suite of tests, which is 2,000 plus, which means it's coming up to the end of the commit point, which is why it's running the MyPy test suite. And this is that thing I was telling you about blast radius, right? So it's creating new tests, it's adding them to the suite, it's running the suite. This is why I don't worry that something's going to regress or break. This is where real confidence comes from, not from anything else. This is how you fix the problem deterministically, programmatically. Obviously, a little different to user experience, which is more UAT. Okay. Been running this CP for 37 minutes. Got a 95K token hang, fine. So everything's looking good so far, but never talk too soon. It only takes a second for things to go wrong. But we're looking good because it has already looked through the core deliveries, which are the decide loop and the field table, and it's just proving that live. And there's the dashboard mutation. It says there, verified. All red, then green, meaning it tested those mutations. They went red, good. Then it went green when they checked it. 15 out of 15 on this specific suite. So that's fantastic. So we've now got these great mutations. We don't need to create mutations again. Now we know those tests are good. So those tests, which run much quicker, go into the test suite, and we never have to run the mutations again. And there we go. We've completed this CP point. So what updates and ships? Well, we modified 8 files, 7 change. And so this is what we're going to end up pushing to our main repo, which is our glitchcat live repo for the system so that people can update. But at the moment, these deliveries are obviously not going to do anything for their system, but they're also not going to break anything. So we're just closing off this CPOA, built and gated in the sandbox. Fantastic. That's the commit. That's the reference for it. We completed that table, as I said. The decide loop was proven programmatically, 15 tests, 7 mutations. There we go. CPOA is done and sealed, Ken. Thank you very much. Here's where you come in. Ooh, this is the plan's first owner gate, is it? I didn't expect that. Live on your stream. Look at that. Fantastic. Must see. How did I know that? Huh. Sometimes glitch surprises me. How did it know that? Probably because I scheduled time in my calendar, and it's probably got a bash of the time. That's probably how it did it. Yeah, glitch surprises me sometimes. I would ask it that usually because I'd like to. I don't like. While I love pleasant surprises when it seems smart, I often like to understand how it did it because there's always something to be learned with stuff like that. Okay, cool. Done CPOA, the decide answer loop, people half plus the guided decide columns. Fantastic. It's what I expected it to do. What it is in one breath. You can now type an answer into a person card, like yes, add him, not this one. And we're not talking about selecting an answer, typing an answer, right? So there's a very interesting integration there. And the keeper's next pass reads it, which is great. So the keeper would then do the task itself. That's what I'm understanding, which is good, which is what I wanted. This is because you don't need to update this in real time all the time. You can have asynchronous here, and there's no need to over-engineer. This is the right way to do it. Proposals are proposed once a day. It's currently in the system. And so we're just keeping that in line. So that's good. And actions it through the real accept dismiss paths, which we already had, but we used to engage with those by just saying in the terminal, yes, please add this to my database, or no. So we're making this deterministic. It can now be done by the UI, and you click a button and it goes. So that's great. I'll show you that in a sec once we get what update would ship. So that's if we were to use the update function to update from our member space, we're just going to push to GitHub, and then we update into our main drive because I'm a developer and that's how I work. But in general, member would just have the one main brain, click update, and then they get the update. That's fantastic. Okay. The 2 calls now. Read the field table. No, I don't need to because I've already done all this at alignment. I know what it was testing. The push call, see the word? Yeah. Okay, glitch, please push, update, and we're in a good space. That's an example of what not to do. Why? So, okay, glitch, please push update. Fine. Great prompt. And we're in a good space. Very unusual language, right? And I've done this on purpose. So this is not such a big deal. But when you use the wrong language, remember what I was saying, how it's a probability machine? So now it's got to think, why would someone have the token good, sp, ace, right? And it starts to check more likely next word and replies against that language. Now, because there's so much other context here, it's absolutely fine. But this is very misleading because most people wouldn't use that language, right? So the probability of it understanding what you're doing effectively and clearly is significantly lowered. Now, because our execution skill in glitch is super smart, this is all being managed independently, right? So I don't need to do anything. I don't need to ask it questions. Have you done this? Have you pushed this? Have you checked this? Have you verified this? Did you update this document? Did you put it here? Did you have it got a place that if it crashes, I can continue from? All this kind of stuff. And the list is huge, right? But the system understands this deterministically. So I don't need to do anything because we spent a lot of time in alignment and that was it. Then we hit plan mode, execute super quick. And a fantastic result. Very complicated delivery there. One hit, no issues. And no blast radius. There it goes, updating our change log. Because I'm a developer, I always have to keep a track of what's changing so I can communicate to the members the changes, right? When I release a new patch and stuff like that. So this is my change log. And of course it does that all automatically. Now it's doing the update process, the / update process, pulling it into your brain. So it's pulling it, so it's pushed it to GitHub, right? It's now pulling it into my brain. So now what I got to be thinking about is, do I want to clear the context and, start again, to continue the progress? And this is where you have to look at context and think, is it the right thing to do? The downside is very little. It's time. It's at the start. It still needs to go through that whole reorienting itself, working out where it is, blah, 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 blah. And that takes a bit of time before it can get going, right? But the positive is that especially if it leads on to something more complicated, then, or an issue, that you don't have that attention that you need because of attention sinks and the way context rot works. So it's something that, you don't want to do. Now, because the next stage, which is CPOB, is probably the most critical and dangerous. It's the handshake, which links the terminal to a task. Very complicated, very deep design, super smart. I'm not even sure it will work. I've never seen anyone do it this way. There's no context, no use cases I can find for it. So, it's using very clever server manipulation, stuff like that. I fear there's going to be a lot of problems here. And Glitch knows that too, because Glitch has given me the summary. And it's also told me the CPOB, terminal to task handshake, which I just described, starts in a fresh window, right? Now, this is all going to be autonomous, guys. When the system is fully developed, and we've got this on the roadmap, this process, it will automatically just launch the terminal and keep it going, right? So we can go on these long autonomous runs managing context. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. But just check that everything went right. Yeah, it's done. Where it is, what, fine, gate. This is all the same every time, so I'm used to seeing this. So it's pulled in, fine. Two things still to close. Reading the table, which I'm not going to do. Drive the live decide leg, pick any pending card and just tell me your answer in plain words. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's do that one. Because we don't have a UI, we have to test the system, right? So I'm going to just say, I'm not going to read the field table glitch, but I think it would be a good idea to just do the live test for number 2. So can you give me one example in words as it would appear on the card, because we don't have the dashboard, obviously, and I'll confirm you can test that the technical implementation works. So wanting to crack on, but this is where user acceptance testing is really important. Now, it could technically programmatically do this, right? But we'll see. Well, it has technically done that. But the reason is this is kind of a wasted test in some respects because we already kind of know it works. But sometimes it will present how it works and I'll see something small. Nothing major is going to break here because we've already tested that, but maybe it might be some language stuff or what have you. So it says fair call. The table's there whenever you want it. I'll record the read as waved by you, pulling one real card from your queue now because I had some stored proposals. And as you can see, these are people that I've engaged with, Christian, Dean, Jeremy. They're not in my database. And look at that, it's even giving me a little mock-up. Now that's not at all how it's going to look, right? In fact, when we do the real thing, it's just doing a mock-up just to test it in theory, right? But in reality, what it will look up is like this. Proposals, and it will be like, Sam has moved to Dubai. He said so on Tuesday's call. His card still says London. Scheduling with him is shifted 3 hours, and his outreach window moves him. His location changes to Dubai. Do you want to accept or dismiss? Or I met an Alex in your outreach push call. We've got a couple of people in our database, Rivera and Chen. You know, which one is it? And I might type Rivera, right, and hit submit. That's how the system will work. And this is testing that. So let's see the example it's given us. New person from your school community, add Paul Cohen to your directory. Paul is a new person in our school community. We love you, Paul. Welcome to GlitchCat Club. Join GlitchCat Club, his handle. Okay, great. Accept or dismiss. Yeah. And I would just, yeah, yes, I'm clicking the accept button. I'll type that one in. So this is like a fun little test just to see that the technical implementation works. It's kind of role play, but it's fun for the AI too, in the sense that the AI gets to see things. Now, I might have seen something on this card as well that was really problematic, and the AI won't know that. So it's really still a good process to go through. Meanwhile, let me just copy this next execute command, right? Boom. So I'll be ready to clear context and continue. Now, if I wanted to keep all the context from this session and what we just ran, I could do that and just move to a new pane, you know, and get it going from here. That's how I like to set up my system, but I'll do it here for now. I'm pretty happy with CPOA's pass. You see, look, one line of honesty first. Interesting. Because the distinction is the whole test, on the real dashboard, the accept click would fire the direct accept, which is what I just showed you guys in the mock. The old, already proven path. What we're live proving is the new machinery, a typed answer loop. So you remember how I showed you guys the live answer loop? Step one, your answer lands on the card. So it's just clarifying. So that's really interesting. So that's great. And this is one of the reasons. So this is the accept path that I said. I would click the accept button because that's the card that I saw. But actually, he's saying it's more of a question like this where I would type the answer. And that's what we're testing, the language filtering through the system, right? Not a command, which we've already proven. Okay, that's good. But that's fine anyway. It's proven it. So next, CPOB, the handshake. All right, this is very difficult. Let's see if we can get this to work. Glitch feature executes, reminding me again. This is also a great canary because I know that it's meant to do this at the end of every session. And if it doesn't do this, it means that there's an issue, right? If it forgets it or something like that, it's like a little canary in a coal mine. All right, okay, good. Clear. I'm gonna paste that command. Go, and that's it. And that's kind of how I'll continue all the way through this development until it's done. Obviously, we haven't had any issues yet. I think we might get some here because, like I said, this is really difficult. But I feel like I've managed a lot of the edge, but there's always nuance. There could be runtime issues. They could be Other problems that just pop up that are unusual, edge cases, it could be a little development that I did earlier in the day, might have changed something. I should have probably checked that, but there's always a reason why things can happen. So what's it doing? It's orienting itself. It's also running my memory, which is my agent background keeper run. So because I cleared the session, that created a stub in glitch, and that stub is stored. This memory keeper is picking up that stub, and it's going to my daily, and it's updating my memory from my daily, which then gets synthesized into a 7-day summary in my memory here, which gets indexed. So my semantic search and my local model here can run, and the RAG is updated. So there you go, a little bit of a quick insight into the memory, or one part of the hybrid memory. It's also making sure that it's in the right place. Sandbox confirmed, glitch member. That's our workspace again. Glitch member. It's lining up the brain, so it's making sure that the commit on the live GitHub repo is the same as I've got here, because I've already updated, so it's in line, and that matches the workspace, because they should be the same now, right? And that matches the GitHub, so that there's no drift, right? And it does this autonomously. It knows to do this. It's very smart. Can't emphasize the power of a good harness. These fix a lot of problems. And like I said, the memory keeper can run autonomously. Yeah, I run auto mode. Yeah, so auto mode's relatively safe anyway by nature in Claude. It's kind of a permissionless, or what used to be called dangerously skip permissions mode, but it's a little bit safer than that. But that doesn't really matter, because glitch itself has deep security hardening. There's security gates, there's guards, there's residue management, there's leak management, there's operating system level read-only to protect engine files, there's hard blocks, there's soft blocks, there's layers of blocks. So I feel very confident that nothing dangerous happens. And that's because I come from a background in data management and databases, where things can go very, very wrong very quickly. So yeah, just glitch has a lot of those principles inbuilt. Oh gosh, I'm running out of water. We need to go get some. All right, and this is what I was talking about, guys. When you clear a context session, you always have this reorienting process, which is time consuming. So often I'll just make that call, especially when I'm doing a small feature. If it's well planned, well aligned, and I'm at 300K, I might think, yeah, I can push to 600K. It's fine, for an XCP gate or something like that. Yeah. And so what are we going to be doing here? This is the dangerous one. This is the handshake linking a terminal to a task. So it's the mechanism that lets a dashboard card, like the ones I showed you in the proposals, link to a live terminal session, so that work in that window belongs to the task without using -P or Agent SDK. So we need 5 screen recordings, a link claimed, 2 panes each, keeping their own ambiguous case asking once, the link surviving memory compaction, and a crashed pane cleaned up the next day. So this is really just a trust layer that everything later stands on, so it gets proven once. And I might have a hands-on leg here, maybe typing some ordinary prose or language in a couple of panes and confirming each name. Each one names its own specific task out loud, something like that. So we'll see how the system handles it. And this is why I'm happy to be using the most powerful model for this, because this is a deeply complicated technical implementation. By far, this is the biggest concern, this little step here. And again, if this doesn't work, it's a no-go. The whole project is a no-go, right? It doesn't mean the rest of the plan isn't good, but it means this part will need to be solved as an issue. I have to go back to the drawing board, and then the plan will need to be updated in line. I should probably prepare myself for this, so I'm just going to have a quick bathroom break and get some more water, and we'll take it from there. I should probably mute myself. That's a good idea, isn't it? All right. Let's get ourselves back going again. Let's see what's happened. Still orienting itself. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, it's just checking the files that it needs to check. Yeah, searching some patterns. Two skills available. Okay, just still orienting. Right, fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. Is this vibe coding? In part it is, because I'm not specifically checking the code every run, but that's because I'm not there yet. I generally do that anyway. On the important stuff, the stuff that matters, that can't be simply, I won't necessarily check code in test scripts and stuff like that. As long as I can verify the tests are working and things like that. Yeah, I would say anything that's kind of not doing that is vibe coding in the sense that Andre Karpathy labeled it. But I think pure vibe coding is more just letting the system go and just hammer at it. I think loops are more aligned to something like vibe coding. This is a lot more structured. I know exactly what I'm expecting. But again, not specifically going into the code and doing it myself. I wouldn't say I was the best programmer, so you gotta take it with a pinch of salt. Okay. Let's see what's going on in the community. Okay. Awesome. Restream. So it's cross-platform streaming. Yeah, it's a neat little tool. I quite like it, but I'm not very familiar with streaming, so I'm living and learning. Talking to myself in a room is odd. Kind of. I do it anyway, but just kind of not quite like this. It's a bit more performative, Yeah. We'll get better at it. Got to practice, got to fail. Okay, what's going on here? Claude scripts, concepts, exit code. Huh. Okay, so it's just not oriented correctly. It's gone via the bit. It's trying to CD into the wrong place. Nothing to worry about there. It'll work it out. Probably did right here. Let's have a look just to be sure. Yeah, I found it here. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I like pink. Yeah, you can edit the way. I usually like a light look, but I'm feeling dark mode today. But it's horrible to look at, I'd imagine, as a user online. It's just like a black screen. But it's great for my eyes. You know, and it's 2 p.m. In the UK. And yeah, I don't want my eyes to start getting too sore. So dark mode's pretty nice. And it's Cascadia font, which is a very Windowsy thing. Oh yeah, you can just do theme, and then you can edit it your own way. That's in Claude. Okay, so this one's set up a task list because it's a little bit more complicated. It's going to verify the user prompt, submit payload, carry session ID. It's going to write the mutation table for the task. It's going to build task links Python script, store and config data key, shared graph me clip. I'm not sure. What is that? Huh. I'm not sure what that is. That's not a good sign. I'm sure it's somewhere in the plan and I've missed it, probably from an update off the back of adversarial. You generally don't want to be have any surprises, but I'll go with it. Now I'm vibe coding. Build the Py hook, the JSON reg for settings, wire the session, and a few other tasks. Okay, good. It's already verified the user prompt submit, payload, carry session ID. Awesome, but that's an easy one. So what do we mean there, right? When you hooks are triggers, right? Triggers that you can control the underlying harness, the Claude official harness. Hooks do work in Codex too. They're a bit different, you know, with ChatGPT and even in Gemini, like anti-gravity. But in a nutshell, this is a user prompt submit hook. So every time I type a prompt and I hit enter, this triggers the hook. Like my / clear is an end of session prompt, which then triggers the memory to be stored. It's writing the mutation table, which we've covered already. It's got the acceptance criteria for the test, the mechanism itself. Okay, good. It's going to check things like what's the maximum amount of characters and performance that can sit within a prompt hook safely, no assumptions. And again, guys, I've not touched the screen apart from reloading the text for the next prompt and having a little bit of back and forth using during the user acceptance testing. So great. So what happens? Align, plan, implement, verify. Yeah, so we're going to have a UI that sits over the top. It's going to be virtually hosted. It's going to have all sorts of incredible task management and meta agent harness. So it can just do long-winded tasks and manage context and almost entirely deterministic. So very little actual AI. I think that's what makes a really good harness. Harnesses are by far the best way to manage it, but this is really a life operating system. I wake up, it checks my emails, it organizes my day into my calendar, it reads my meetings, it organizes me, it looks at my North Star, it understands what I need to get done today to move the needle, it makes propositions, I check in my weight and my health and how I've been doing my diet and my gym and all sorts of things. It measures my mood. There's just a whole bunch of incredible things it can do. Like I said, it can send me WhatsApp messages with my voice and warn me ahead of meetings, does a lot of stuff without me asking for it to do it. It just knows. It might just suddenly go off and do research and listen to a podcast that I like and flag moments in it with an automatic link that takes us to that exact moment. And it's just an amazing system. But it's about building it from the ground up, right? And getting user feedback. You can't build products like this without user feedback. It's all about understanding real people's use cases. And it's also an incredible teaching tool. I mean, not this task because it's so complicated, right? But it's a great teaching tool because all of the foundations of AI, like the magic trifecta, right? Like prompting, context management, and what AI actually is. All of this can be demonstrated using the tool. And so it's a great teaching tool. Now, usually, like I said, I would be looking at some funny videos on Instagram or something or commenting on some news. But like I said, this is by far the most risky session. You can see we've barely started and we're already at 258K context. So good call by glitch to refresh and start in a new session, because this is a very heavy test cycle. We're at 30% usage. Let's see what our Fable usage is for the week. See how much more we got to play with. If we can get through this really tricky stuff, then I'm quite happy to execute the rest with, say, Opus. Claude usage, Fable, resets Tuesday at 1 a.m. So technically Monday. We've got 25% left, so that's pretty good. I think I'm feeling pretty good about that. Thank you, Anthropic, for resetting usage yesterday. I'm sure it had nothing to do with OpenAI's release. And so we're back in this testing cycle. That's what the graphene clip is. Makes sense. It's the clips. It's the screen clips. Makes sense now. Now I think about it. It's not used to the language. Yeah, fix your spacing. See, it's not very smart, Fable. It's amazing, some of these mistakes. Fix true. Ah, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Fable. My bad. It was a mutation check. Got it. Makes sense. We've been streaming for about an hour and 50, according to Restream. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's www.glitchcatclub.com. Actually, we like dogs. Chase has a gorgeous dog called Dakota. Yeah. Yeah, we want to be live streaming a lot more. Not tasks like this. This is a little bit hard to watch. But, we want to really start engaging with people and showing you guys not to listen to these gurus online. A lot of misleading information, a lot of virality driving, I think, good education. There are some really great educators out there who I fully support. People like Indie Dev Dan. They're a bit expensive if you want to take their courses, in the thousands of pounds. It's kind of why Glitch Cat Club was created, so we can have a really low ticket price of entry and just, hopefully, yeah, we want to make money, but the passion is really elsewhere. Yeah. Okay. So far, so good, friends. 22-minute on this 88.2 token push. Cash is 98. It's got some ramp up. So we're still using a bit of extra tokens here. Oh, excuse me. Late night. Oh. Yeah, it's the good thing. You can kind of like stream and read comments and talk with people while some stuff's going on. I like to do. I usually have like a lot of music going. I need to fix that. There is some like AI music and stuff I can put in, but it's like it's not great. Chase runs like Glitch Cat AI music, but there's lots of options. Yeah, no, I'll keep it going for a little while. Maybe another 30 minutes, 45 minutes. See how far we can get. Yeah. Folder structure is important. It is the right thing to do. Agent building less so important. That's true too. But it depends is the short, non-loaded answer. It depends on what you're trying to do. I think this idea that one size fits all is just not true. Certain enterprises solutions need certain systems that work for them. But general rules, yeah, I think if you're using grep as your search tool, then a good folder structure is obviously key. So that's not false. That's true. I just wouldn't oversell it, I guess. Let me just check a couple of things real quick. Okay. All right, let's see what's going on. I wasn't paying attention. One function came out convoluted. That's okay. Nothing serious. Fable doing Fable things. Okay. Oh, God. All right. That's one way of doing it, I guess. So far, so good, though. Wiring the session start armed line, session end link cleanup. This has gone surprisingly smooth so far, but we'll wait till we're testing. I am surprised. CPOC is all about having different ways into the dashboard skeleton, because Glitch is kind of like a spine, right? You've got like engine code here, which does all this kind of amazing stuff. And then you have integrations that can feed in, like adapters. That's what makes it kind of scalable. So yeah, we're going to test the different ways into that dashboard that we want to create skeletons. So that's the local server, trying to open that dashboard in, the chat or a docked VS Code tab, or maybe an app style window. Maybe have like a nearly empty screen opening 3 different ways, something like that. And we do that because the ways in a member experience, need to be proved early. You need to prove that you can do these things. It could be really ugly. It might be poor, but it's just a plumbing exercise, right? But it's less of a problem to fix if it doesn't work than, say, something like this. This is the real no-go phase. Remember, we still haven't even started the actual development, right? This is all CP0. Yeah, computer's loud. It's hot in here, so the fans are really blowing. Good point. When is the community meeting? Calendar. 4 p.m. So we've got some time. I might tell you a funny story in a bit. If I can. What if I can say it on stream? Everyone would want to know, of course. Gossip. We all love gossip. Coffee. Cheers. Iced coffee. It's hot in here. Yeah, this is a Windows machine, but I use both. Yeah, you got it. Glitch is, Linux, Mac, and Windows compatible. I was just about to say, I think this is a great example of something very complicated. Look how smooth it's going. But I know if I say that, which I just did, it's going to probably start throwing up some issues. The reason it's hanging for so long, guys, is that this is very, very complicated, right? And because it doesn't really have training data on what we're trying to do, it's a unique solution. I can't find another. I'm sure someone's done it, but I can't find another use case out there of someone doing it. So even drafting tests for this is quite difficult. I had to think about that too. I made some suggestions, but that's why mutations are really important. Okay. Okay, good. Let's see how we go here. So far, so good, guys. And then we're moving into testing. Wow. Pretty amazing. Error editing file. That's okay. Just a poorly constructed bash command. So what it's kind of doing is it's simulating like how this could work, and then kind of pseudo building it in the background, and then kind of checking out if things go together. And then off the back of what it learns, it's then developing scripts. So it's test scripts. So, and then mutations. So it's hugely, this is major reasoning. This is why I'm Fable 5 Max right now. This is about as meaty as it gets. I mean, you've seen basically no reading and writing, and it's 352K context, right? and it's got 140K on the load. Right here. Okay, this is amazing. Right, so fingers crossed time, right? Tests now with the mutations verified. So it's going to turn the tests red to check that they're testing the right thing. If not, it's going to have to rewrite the mutations. And then if that all works, we're going to go to the quality gate, so checking the rough, the MyPy test suite across all 3 platforms, although we're on Windows, so I don't know how that's going to work. Then full suite, and then an additive gate. Oh boy. Moment of truth. If this works, this has opened up a really interesting design pattern that I think could be used in a lot of places. So I wonder what Anthropic will do if they get wind, because it kind of is a work around the agent SDK minus P. Yeah, this is my life now as a developer. Yeah, just like sitting back, going, trying not to fall asleep. Now, I usually, I usually scroll social media, look at news, do other tasks. I'd usually be on other panes doing other work. It's just that I'm not wasting the tokens right now, and I'm not context switching, so I need to stay focused. That's why. Yeah, and it's okay. It's quite therapeutic. That's why live streaming is quite fun, because I get to engage and stuff. Yeah. Oh, it's like these portable social media mics. It's called a Lark M2, and it comes in this case, and there's like 2 of them. So when one runs out, you can do it, and it charges. Super neat. Yeah, it's okay. It's not as good as like a proper condenser mic, but then I can just kind of sit back and chill and walk around wireless. Yeah. Okay, everything's written. First run, the 3 touch test files. Come on. Come on, Glitch. You can do it. Come on, Glitch. Impress me. Okay. Okay. See all these UV commands, because everything's in Python, so it's running on UV. Okay, 73 green. Now the full validation stack. This is insane. I wish you guys understood. I wish you guys understood what we're doing here. It will all be clear soon, I promise. All 73 green, now the full validation stack. Rough, then Empire, and all 3 platforms. Absolutely faultless so far. Let's check our regression. So rough, then Empire. I don't see how on all 3 platforms is viable when I'm on Windows. Strange thing to state. So that might stop and ask. Okay. Yeah. That's the lock heal. The callable new date time. And the billion. Yeah. The revision bumps exactly when the document's content changed. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm just going to focus on this a second. Some nits. It's just not communicating. It's testing Linux and Darwin using WSL. So it's using the Linux kernel to do it. No issues found in 185 source files. Okay. That's what it meant. I was thinking, how's it going to do that? Because I don't have a Mac here. That was quite clever, actually. I didn't think about that. That was a bit of autonomy. Again, I missed a couple of things on what I thought was the most important phase. So lesson learned, a little bit of misalignment, but fortunately it seems okay. Still got a healthy amount of usage left. We are 25% in our 5 hourly, but that's fine. Come on. You can do it, Glitch. It's running our pi tests. Yeah, I got my fingers crossed. This is where planning really matters, guys. I could be cheeky and control B to see what's going on, but I'd rather get the nice surprise. My Pi was already clean on host, Darwin and Linux. So this is just the regression test, so it should be fine. This is running the full test suite. Checking no blast radius, no regressions. See if I can move this camera down just a touch. Come on, get through the programmatic. Let's do it. Come on. $388K context, super healthy. Like I said, this is the big one. Everything else I'm pretty confident I can solve if it breaks. This one is tricky. This one will be back to the drawing board. Yeah, you can make prompts like that, right? Build me a game. I mean, it doesn't prove anything. I know people like to think it does, but it doesn't. And I can go into depth explaining why. If you see people doing stuff like that, they don't know what they're doing. And I don't mean that to be derogatory, because nothing wrong with testing and having fun, but like that's not how you get results. It does take longer when you do it this way, but again, it all depends on the use case. If it's a simple thing, you can be a lot looser. But if it's something like this and you don't want to hit walls every 20 minutes, right? As you know, I haven't touched the screen, and this is about as rough as it can get. I don't want to talk too soon, so let's just... 4 minutes 57 running those scripts, and timeout is 10 minutes. Maybe it is time to Control B. Come on. What are we guessing? 7 minutes? About 2,000 test cases plus. Ooh. Surely. There's no reason for any blast radius. So if there is, I think it's pretty straightforward. This guy's still rolling, so it's not hanging. No, it's not hanging. It's just it's working. It's running tests and verifying mutations. Well, actually, it's moved on from that. Actually, it could be verifying the mutation still. Yeah, that's valid. Although I wouldn't trust this, but it could be. 164.7. It's reasoning. It's what it's doing. It's reasoning. It's checking everything enough that it feels confident to reply. Now, if anyone's used Fable, they know Fable likes to just run off and do things. So this shows you how complicated this is, because it's taking its time. It's working it out. I don't think I could have done this with any other model right now, if I'm honest. Not without resistance and hacking and thumping at it. Soul, arguably. Yeah. Soul, arguably. But anything else before this like tier of models? I don't think so. Not as smoothly as it's gone. Right, 7 minutes 20. We got a timeout at 10 minutes. When do I prompt? Let's see. This might be the first time in a test suite I hit a timeout, which is kind of wild. I need to think about this. What do I do? I've got to make a decision quick. I wonder what's causing that delay. No, wait, I'll let it. Right, there we go. Oh boy. Wow. Okay, had me on the edge of my seat. I was just about to type. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look here. All right. Let's see what's going on in the community. Should be updating soon. So this is once these tests are officially green and the mutation's officially green, I think we're over the biggest hump, and I think it's pretty much a go for the project. So yeah, not the most exciting thing to look at, but very meaningful. Still reasoning, my goodness me. Wow. 50 minutes. Been streaming for about 2 hours 20. Yeah, so we've been talking through the APIV methodology. Here we go. Oh, that's a good sign. It's my my business or Intel. Just looking at Git. So it's quite happy. Okay. Yeah. So proving the technical workaround to avoid agent SDK minus P as a mechanism to move between a dashboard interface of some kind, any kind, into the terminal, right? So a creation of a mini local server with several doors into a dashboard. And the technical solution for that, that's what we're testing here. We've had a little bit of action. That's good. Almost done thinking. Yeah, I know, Fable. We're pushing you to your limits. Riveting stuff, guys. Riveting. But I am honestly, internally, very excited because I know what this means in terms of what it enables as a design pattern. It's incredible, some of the things we can do off the back of this. So, yeah, and this is probably the first time, in a very long career, working with machine learning or artificial intelligence, that I've ever been truly stumped on how to solve something, especially after talking with AI, and asking a lot of questions. This was a genuine, when the model, you're talking to Fable and Fable says, there is no reference to this. Let's try and design something. And you go, oh man. And you start talking through and you realize that you can't trust at all what the AI is saying. You have to truly go to the notepad and paper and really try and think this through and look into research very specific little things. Just hacking at it, but then trying to make it robust and secure. Yeah, so it's rushing. It's running it in this. It's doing a mutation run in a scratch pad outside the sandbox in the app data local, which is fine. It's all good. This is mutation testing. Running if the single word gate drops. So this is mutations being verified so that it can run the test suite, which will be in the full MyPy. Oh. Okay, what do we have here? Hopefully that's a mutation. Ooh, that's good. If it's moving on to a pre-push gate, that's good. Run all 31 mutation verifications, read them, restore. Completed without a hitch? No way. Wow. Wow. Huh. Oh, I think we just learned a very special recipe, guys. Wow. Oh, got chills. It works. Yeah, like what is it? Frankenstein. It's alive. Wow. I might actually have a big brain. Or I'm really, really lucky. Probably really, really lucky. I've been feeling quite lucky recently. We're good, guys. I mean, it's just yeah, we're good. It's done it. It's worked. It's just going through the end of cycle process now. I can't believe that. No resistance. There might be some UAT. Let's see. I don't really see how it could UAT. It could I guess technically ask me for some ordinary pros and to test the multiple panes and stuff like that. So we'll see. It could do that. That would make sense, but we'll see. So this is all good. It's 10 file edit. Not bad, guys. 57 minutes, Fable on max for 10 files, 6 changes, but a lot of time spent in the tests and mutations. This is what you need to go through, guys, if you want things to be enterprise grade. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't do this for everything, right? It's over-engineered otherwise. It's an over-engineered overkill. Sorry. Verified. Positive source branch string, yep. Relevant precision, yeah. Varying token used by identities is called sensor. Good. Where we are being updated, built and committed in the sandbox. Fantastic. Sandbox is here. Glitch member. Here. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, I'm feeling smug. Yeah, I'm feeling smug. I'm feeling super smug right now. It's a lot of work, guys. Like, I wish you understood. Like, this has been a lot of work to try and think this up. A lot of human intelligence, you know, a lot of talking to really smart people, and yeah, it's a bit of a magical moment, if in a way. It's probably the most significant moment I've had so far. Very exciting. It's opened up a lot of very cool things. Now that we have that, you know, it's a design pattern that's locked in. It's kind of glitch IP now, right? You know, I mean, I'm going to need to go into the code and, you know, get into the details and really refine it. But the principle works. Wow. Okay, stopping if you push. Handshake mechanism is done. Amazing. Okay. Click link on task. Next time I task carries task session. Yeah, seems so simple. If only I could just use the ancient SDK minus P, I could have coded this in 10 minutes. Anyway, my play clean multi platforms. Yeah, 2,212 tests passed. Amazing with the hostile setup. The plan feared. It crashed red before the fix. Awesome. That's good. Red is good because it's a mutation. We're trying to confirm that it does flag. That's the point. One small addition beyond the plan text. The hook honors, so these are deviations. This is always important to read. The hook honors the same automated session guard that the other hooks carry, so a background process driving Claude can never silently steal a pending link. Ah, that's cool. Mutation mode 27 pens it. Cool. Yeah, I think that's fine. Leave that in. The emission budget is 1,500 bytes. That's on the submit prompt hook. Provisional, the doc says 10K characters. Ooh. 1.7K. Ceiling once constant calibrates. That's interesting. That could be problematic. Hold on. Oh, I still got the advisor tool running. I do. Don't need an advisor. It does want me to do the test in 2 panes. That's cool. We can do that. Let's just work this out first, though. The emission budget. Can you help me to understand the 3 things that you flagged? So let's talk about the, well, actually 2 things. Let's reword this because I started to talk nonsense. Let's talk about 3 is fine. I've turned the advisor tool off. 1 seems relatively superficial. Let me know if I've misunderstood. Number 2 is the one that seems a little bit more interesting. So you've mentioned the emission budget is 1,500 bytes. The doc was saying 10K characters. I don't know what 10K characters is in bytes. So the seam map observed 1.7 KB. Is that what you're saying? So explain to me this concern, this limitation, where it manifests in the situation, what we've done about it, anything to consider, anything where you need my go ahead and advice or confirmation. Yeah, it's a complicated way of describing it, isn't it? It kind of says you've got a budget, and then it uses a different format for so I'm like, is it saying that that's okay? Is it saying it's not okay? It's not very clear. So I'm just going to try and understand. Never ignore these things, guys. Sometimes AI loves to act like it's already like a nothing issue and it's something massive. Sometimes it's the opposite. It states something very tiny as massive, but you need to understand these deviations, right? The plan is what I've done. I spent a lot of time on it. The plan is solid. So the deviations are what matters. It had to hack its way. I never saw it struggling though, which gives me the impression like it's not that serious, but we'll find out. Context is 440K. It's about the limit of the discussion context window that I can have this. Your read on the other 2 is right. The recursion guard is small in size. A 2-line check mirroring what the other hooks already do. A real in what it prevents, which is a background automation claiming a link meant for your terminal. That's fine. And with your switching the advisor off deliberately, the deviation is settled. That's the number 3. Same footing to CPOA. Okay, good. So 1 and 2 are fine. Now the budget properly. Okay, let's focus on this. The situation. On every prompt you type, our new prompt submit hook, can inject a small piece of text, that's right, into the model's context, right. So it's the limit there. This session is linked to task X line on the submit prompt hook, which is how it knows that when you're working in the terminal, that it needs to update something to update the UI, blah, 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 without using agent SDK -P, which is part of the queued system on the server, or the pick a link question. That injection travels to a channel Claude Code owns, right? And that channel has a ceiling, right? The submit prompt hook. Whatever exceeds that ceiling, the platform handles its way, and its way is dumb from our side. You know, you're talking about yourself, Fable. It can cut mid-sentence, absolutely. That's the concern. Or divert the overflow to a file. Either outcome means the model sees a mangled half question. Right, so it's totally clear to me. I know what the problem is, right? The number confusion. We have two different claims about where the ceiling sits in two different units. Okay, the official docs fetched live today say a hook output is capped at 10,000 characters. Our own scene map measured against the real behavior of a session start channel on the current build observed truncation near 1.7 kilobytes, which is roughly 1,700 bytes. Again, characters. So the question about converting one character, oh, it's literally 1-to-1, so I'm being an idiot. So, oh, of course. Oh, God. Do you think I need more coffee, guys? So 10,000 characters would be 10 KB. Of course it would be. Okay, but an emoji can be up to 4 bytes per character. Yeah, a composed emoji like a family symbol, 7 characters. Yeah. The two claims disagree, but roughly 6 times. Well, that's pretty significant. We need to take the min, right? And we don't know which one governs a specific channel. That's good. But fine. What we did, we never let the platform do the cutting. Good. The hook clips its own output before emitting under our own budget, measured in 8 bytes, okay, which is the strictest honest unit. There's a couple of ideas I can think about to solve this as well. Okay, but anyway, the clipping is ordered and truthful. Fine. And 3 more. Open the dashboard to pick, so nothing hidden pretends not to exist. Hold on. 3 more. The clipping is ordered and truthful. Okay. The claimed link line always survives first. The question list drops whole entries, never half of one, and ends with, okay, that's fine. It never ends with like, and 3 more, open the dashboard pick, right? So it doesn't truncate. Okay. So nothing hidden pretends not to exist. A pathological single line clips on emoji site, but it's fine. The budget is 1,500 bytes, chosen to sit under the worst number we've seen, so taking them in. Fine, good. So whichever story turns out true, our output fits. That's sensible. Well done. That's what I would have said. Day to day, it barely matters. The link line is about 150 bytes, and the question only approaches the budget if you have many pending links with long titles. Right, okay. So we might need to do some blocking in the dashboard for someone saying, I want to work on lots of different tasks at the same time, and let's start. You know, they need to start, go over, you know, and get engaged. Okay, that's fine. And a small limitation, and there's potential solutions around this. What needs you? Nothing right now. The one open thing is that one does. Thank you, Glitch. That makes a lot of sense, bud. And I'm happy that you chose the path you did, the min, the safe route. And I'm also happy in the other decisions that you made, very sensible. There are a number of options we can take for this. We can minimize in the dashboard the ability to set off multiple links without them being, multiple tasks being started without, say, links being claimed, so that we can always manage this in a deterministic manner. This is not a case for now, but maybe something for our log at the end of the project to track. So I'm happy with that. Yep, so I'm happy to continue, assuming that pushes don't impact users at update, which is, of course, the understanding as always. You know, it's just dead to them. Okay. Now, if it's going to do a typical AI thing, because I said that bit at the end, it will probably try to retest to confirm, which because it's on max. So that was a bad bit of language by me, but we'll see. I was going to escape it, but I've done it now, so I don't want to. So what it's saying, guys, if you're curious, is if we take a mock-up here for proposals, let's say. No, let's take a mock-up for tasks. Okay, so let's say you got a task and I want to work on a task, right? Let's say we got a couple of tasks for today. Oh gosh, oh, this is the wrong one, hold on. Input. So let's say I got a couple of tasks for today, right? It may be 3 that I want to action, right? And I want to start the task. There's going to be like a link button, right? It's not here right now. Not started. So I go in progress, right? This is not how it's going to work exactly, but anyway, there's a link button. Click, click, click. That queues these tasks up so that when I go in the terminal and I start to work on the task, it knows that I'm using it, but it has to store the information of the link for the system. But that's stored and projected on a submit prompter, which has a limited amount of bytes or characters that I can use. And it was a lot less than what all the research said and the real life tests said, which was 10,000 characters, which is a lot. I would never want to use that much anyway. So it went for the min that was like 1,500, but generally we're only going to use about 150. So we're talking about the fact of like actually just stopping the user of actually doing multiple links that are too excessive. And that's a soft safety measure to avoid the problem, but there is also other solutions we can take. So there you go. Right, we're pushing. Understand, confirm exactly right. Remember who updates, gets a hook, stats, checks a file, nothing on the machine never creates, emits nothing, claims nothing, dead weight until the dashboard exists. That's a yes. Pushing now, branch up, main, brought forward. Okay, good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. This is success. Wow. Great. So what are we left to do? We need to test. That was by far the most dangerous no-go for the project. So I think we're a go. Everything else can be solved, even if it doesn't work immediately. But the next one is we're going to prove the different ways into the dashboard skeleton. So basically, it's piping. It's going to probably use some kind of mock-up piece of crap just to kind of demonstrate it. And we're testing the plumbing, can be proven. That's it. Just how do you access, launching it in a browser or, whatever it is. So that's the next stage. Usually this would be so simple. You just run localhost or, fine. But there's a lot more going on than that. So we're testing a different mechanism. Imagine we haven't even started executing on the delivery yet. This is all prep work, guys, but it's been super smooth. Very, very happy. Gotta love Glitch. Yes, Glitchy. I'm becoming my best friend. And the more you use Glitch, the more it gets to know you, the way you work. It's been just wonderful. Like it just gets smarter and stuff because of really good memory architecture, right? Super efficient memory architecture, self-healing architecture, good file maintenance, really disciplined read-write control over naughty AI. This is the way it's done. So it's we kind of learned this the hard way through experience over the last 3 or 4 years, but we're finally there and it's paying off, and everything is evaluated, tested, and verified, right? You can never do this stuff by gut feel, I'm afraid, guys. When it comes to building a harness, you have to have effective evaluation. Just doing a bit of admin, as always, completely automated, right? You should never be repeating questions here, doing questions here. It's just good. I think we're at 463K, so I think we'll probably do the next CPOC in the in another context window. Let's see if there's any gossip. Nothing I can share, unfortunately. Done. All right, cool. What update? Fine. Pulled in the update. Great. Live check. Ran green twice. The machine's real state. Hook through exaggeration. Fine. Restart needed. Yes. The new hook registration and the session start change load on the next window. Okay. Next command in a fresh context. Okay, there it is. Clip. That window picks up CB001, your hands on. So this is a UAT test cycle. So I need to, okay, let's do it. So I'm going to exit, right, to get the hook configured. I'm going to re-enter Claude. Cool. Run Fable. I'm going to fix the effort to max. I'm going to go into auto mode, shift, tab, tab, tab. I'm going to use my command and follow the guidance. So we're nearly closed out on this. We've just got one user acceptance test on it. We're not quite ready to start CPOC just yet. And I know all this stuff sounds complicated, you know, in terms of knowing all these references in the plan. Like, you shouldn't ever have plans this complex, right? This is like trying to build a SaaS in one go, right? It's not. You would usually do this in much smaller chunks, right? And you would often want to implement something like this vertically. So you'd build something in the back end, the middleware, and the front end, so you can see it working from each phase. You don't want to ever build horizontally, where you're building everything, then checking if it works. That's not a good way to do it. But I don't have a choice in the nature of what we're doing, right? That's why there's so much pre-start testing. So I think what we're going to do now is a little bit of a hands-on UAT test for what we've just done, which is, I don't know if the exit should have reloaded the hooks. I don't think I have to close out VS Code. That wouldn't make sense. Hey, Kem, spinning up the memory catch-up. Yep, so my memory keeper is updating from the last session that I just exited from. So the stub was created with the summary. It's going to take that information. Everything has been updated. My brain, my main system, is in line with my sandbox, which is where we do our development environment here, which is another brain basically. And then that was pushed to GitHub. And then from GitHub, we use the /update command to update my brain with what we developed, right, after we had the clear. So those are just the commit references, right? Okay. So let's finish up B, shall we, with our UAT. We've been streaming for about 2 hours and, it's nearly 3 hours. Okay, that's pretty neat. Not bad. Let's see if we can get through the next CPOC. That would be cool. Then all of the big prep work is done. And then it's kind of just execute. Yeah, with a much higher expectation that things will be smooth. And we still got, let's see how much Fable usage have we got left. And we just need to get through one more with Fable, which is the tough stuff, and then the rest is, we can do an opus. 57% used, so that's fine. There's plenty of usage left. Oh, I'm just responding to someone in the community. Really nice guy. He's actually the guy that led to, well, he had a small thing that he's raised some great things, but he's raised a couple of things. He's kind of a power user, and he's raised a couple of things which have sparked the kind of, okay, what is the big requirement, and then where does this sit? And he always comes up with these really like critical points where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should do something about it. And then I think about it back to the philosophy of glitch, and I'm like, I think I have to push this up the roadmap. Like, I think this is a priority. So every time he suggests something, I'm like, this needs to be fixed now. So there was a fix this morning that I put in that was for that. And it was, yeah. Let's see. Okay, cool. Right. Now, of course, the frustration with starting new context when you're doing it like this kind of manually, because it's such a big development, is that it has to take a lot of time reorienting itself, right? That's just kind of what it is, especially when you're on max reasoning. But unfortunately, because of the nature of what we're doing and these complex steps, I don't really have a choice. And like I said, usually I'd let this run, I'd go into a new pane, you know, over here or something, and I'd start working on something else, like a bug fix or whatever, you know, whatever it might be. But because this is such a technical development, I need to keep my eyes on it. I need to be focused, and I can't get lazy. I have to read every line. Every line matters, and if I don't understand, I need to understand. So, you know, just like we did in the end of the last session. So, you know, that's what it is. And it's definitely not the most exciting thing to watch, but I can tell you that what we've just proven in that last phase, although we haven't fully completed, we still need to do the UAT, is really huge, really, really huge. Anyone that wants to use their Claude auth subscription and they know that the changes to agent SDK minus P are going to cause problems with them using other interfaces, you know, whatever that might be, their mobile phone, a different GUI, a shell maybe, or Slack or whatever, that knows they won't be able to do that, well, I might have just solved that. So there you go. Which frees up a lot of opportunity. Mm-hmm. What it's probably doing now is it's checking the lay of the land, making sure that all the hooks are there, the boundaries are there, the task links are armed so that we can do the testing, which is exactly right. It's what it should be doing, which means that the exit was enough to load the hooks. A clear probably wouldn't have worked. Okay, I'm just going to load up. Bear with me. Okay, it's home office short weather. Amazing. Right, let's see. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Come on, let's get this phase closed out. Okay. Sorry, guys, I was reading from my community member who was just saying some really kind things, which just made me really happy. That's awesome. Yay. Yay. Member feedback is so awesome. It's how things get better. Okay, let's have a look at this beast. Right, the stage is clean where we are. Yeah, the mechanism is live. It works. Fantastic. It's all improved. 2 small heads up for the first open the sandbox boots. A fresh member starter vault synthetic tasks only, so nothing personal can reach the camera construction. Okay. And it may greet you with its own memory catch-up line or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Both a real member boot, accept and carry on. Okay. The 5 scenes. I stage and verify between beats you type. Okay. The single link. You open a pane at the sandbox and say hello. Oh, this is a bit messed up because I don't know how to do that. Huh. Interesting. I don't think it needs to be in the sandbox. Okay, let's think about this. I think the AI's got a little confused. It's telling me to CD to the sandbox. First move, open a terminal. So it's saying to me CD to the sandbox, right? Run Claude. Say when the pane has, okay, let's give this a go. Let's Let's call this UAT test 1. Let's do rename UAT test 2. I'll go with it. I don't think this is going to work, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. Execute pane. Okay, so let's give it a go. So it wants me to CD to the directory. That's easy enough. Let's CD to the directory, run Claude. So now I'm in that. Yes, I trust the folder. The project's called imports files and also the current directory never allows third party files. You just allow external imports. Good. Okay. Then I have CD'd into the directory. I have run Claude, and I'm ready for you to arm, baby. Let's go here. Let's go up. Auto mode. You can leave it on X high. It doesn't matter. Okay, see when it's greeted you on the first task. 3 side notes. The brain's memory catch-up is still running. Brief relayed when it lands from yesterday's live checks. Project is 3 commits behind. It's GitHub remote. A merged PR landed there. So a git pull when you next touch it brings it level. Wait. No, that's not right. Because, wonder. Let me read that again. We've got my note anyway. It's unrelated, but it's interesting. The keeper's gone idle, which usually means it finished. Before nudging anything, I'll snapshot its ledger. Oh, that's fine. 3 side notes. The brain's memory catch-up is still running. Okay, that was before the... Okay. Brief relayed when it lands from yesterday's live checks. Okay, so there was a stubber. Your workspace project is 3 commits behind. Oh, that's because at the time that it was placed. Okay, that'll be updated in Dream. Fine, no issue there. As always, need to know what's going on. Armed a task, baby. Fix the sign-up email flow. So this is basically saying, I've gone into my dashboard. You've got to imagine it. Gone to my dashboard. I've clicked that I want to work on this task. That task is fix the sign-up email flows pending, right? Panes 1 term. Type an ordinary working sentence, whatever you'd naturally say, no task words needed. The very message should claim the link, and Glitch should tell you in one plain sentence that the session is now linked to the task. Chat 1 or 2 more turns about anything, then ask it which task is the session linked to. So that's the only one I need. And we want it to say this. Okay, let's give it a go. So let's just say hi. Let's see what it says. Moment of truth. This is going to be messy, but let's see. Can this be smooth too? Who knows? Wow. Spinning up the daily fork, running the memory keeper. That's fine. Allowed by auto mode classifier. Good. Oh, it's now linked to the task. Fix the sign up email flow on your dashboard. Hitting on link there undoes it. Working on today. Just some tests. Thanks. We just need to do a couple of model turns to see that the prompt is still submitting. So we've tested the first part. Just another test. And then which is this session linked to? Give me that T-ref. Give me that T-ref. Yes, this worked. Amazing. All right, cool. Let's share that with Glitchy. Boom. It worked, my friend. It worked. Now we're going to have to do the second pane, I think. So step 1 of 2 passed, friends. Yes. So the submit prompt picked up the link that was queued in the server-side system. It knew from the submit prompt that it had to link itself. And then we loosely tested. This is not proper testing. This can still be broken in other ways. But the idea is that if I continue talking and having model calls, it still knows that it's linked to that task until there's an official task closure. To test that fully, you'd have to have a long session, and then right at the end of the session, ask the question. That would be the real test. But do we have time to do that right now? No. This is about as good as we can get. If it falls off for some reason, we'll have to work it out. There's only so much you can test, right? We're just testing the functionality of the basic system. Scene 1 passed on camera. Yes, it did. And cleanly. The claim fired on your very first word. Amazing. The 2 test turns stayed. Yeah, and the turn 4 is named this. Perfect. Okay. That's it. Scratch Vault booting like any members ignore it. Now the stores evidence, then arming scene 2. And this is hopefully our scene 2 window. Right, evidence on record. Leave pane 1. We need it later for the compact and clear legs. Okay. 1, open a second terminal pane, same directory, and run Claude. All right, you got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. So this was our directory, which is our sandbox. Boom. Let's CD to it. Good. Let's launch Claude. Boom. Let's go auto mode. And then what do we have to do? Just make sure I don't do this wrong so we don't waste turns. Open a second terminal pane. Its session start already carries the informational line that one link is waiting to attach. So watch whether the greetings mention it. Type any ordinary first message. The message should claim draft the welcome sequence task with the same one sentence announcement. Then ask both panes which task is the session linked to. Right. So we want to prove that it can run multi-links in different panes. So this is the idea, guys, that imagine you've got multiple tasks and you link one task and you start working on it in one pane, but then you want to start another one while that's working, right? You should be able to do that. So that's what we're testing, right? Okay, so let's do the hi. We're looking for the same thing. And this is UAT, user acceptance testing. So we're not just allowing the system to say it works. We are testing it for reals, okay? It's about as good as you can get without a UI yet. It's as vertical as you can get without a UI. Reading Bootstrap MD, now that is weird. That shouldn't be doing that. That is very weird. I wonder why it's doing that. That is odd. I'm going to screenshot that. Should not be trying to bootstrap. It's just searching, but I just wonder why. This doesn't look good. Let's see. Session is now linked to the task draft and welcome sequence. I can't remember if that was the right one. I think it might be. Draft the welcome sequence. Then ask both, type an ordinary first message, the message, then with the same one sentence announcement, yeah. Then ask both panes which task the session is linked to. Okay. Let's just testing something real quick. Let's get a couple of model calls. Just one more thing. It actually reminded me again. Okay. What task is this session linked to? Can you remind me by checking, not repeating factually? What task is this session now linked to? So let's take that. So that's pane UAT2 equals pane UAT1 original equals. There we go. This is why you've got to be careful with your words. Checking the live link store rather than quoting from memory. Oh, see, got to ask the right question. Yeah, this is a pass, guys. This is a pass. Note well, the UAT one, I pasted the full cycle, including what was there previously. It looks like a pass to me. Tell me what you think. Right. And then we might have to test some compacting and stuff. We'll see. And clear. I cannot believe how smooth this has been, guys. Insane. 3 hours to get through these two tests is wild, considering how complicated this is. I am thrilled so far. Absolutely thrilled. Scene 2 is a pass, and you added a beat better than my script. Check, don't repeat. Yeah, I know, because I'm smart. Because I got human intelligence. I got some HI. Okay, now scene 3. Staging the 3 arms and rendering the fresh session start line for the record before you open the pane. Okay, this one seems like a big one. Let's see. And hopefully after these tests are done, I'll need to drop stream. We won't get to the next one, unfortunately, after that off stream, because I've got a community call in 30 minutes. We'll see how we go. Scene 2 is a pass here, yep. Stage with the record. I wanted the exact informational line. A fresh pane now carries a session start, rendered from the real code. Okay, first message. Okay, scene 3, the question. 3 links are pending, so a fresh session must ask once and never guess your moves in a new pane. Okay, so let's do UAT3, rename, UAT3, oh, test 3. Okay, cool. Let's CD to the same sandbox. Bum. Claude. Auto mode. Hi. Okay. Expect no claim. So we don't want it to claim a task. Instead, Glitch should put the question to you, because this is testing when there's multiple queues of tasks, so it doesn't know what to link to. I bet you it's going to ask me for the task ID, which is super confusing. So we'll see how this works. Something unrelated. Exact task ID. Reply with just the number. I have to say the number. That's insane. That's a fix for afterwards, but that's okay. 1 word from the title. Oh, or from the title. Cool. Leaves the terminal unlinked for now. Plus the plain warning that anything else leaves this terminal unlinked for now. So I'm judge how faithfully it relays it. Okay. Let's test. The terminal opened up and gets invoked and triggers fired on the way in. So quick orientation before anything else. The task links are armed. 3 links from the new per prompt handshake hook. Okay, it's very technical. We need to make that a bit more user-friendly, don't we? Waiting for a terminal. Chase the Jordan invoice, refactor the parser test, and book a thing. Yeah. Plain hi leaves the session unlinked, which is what just happened. If you want this window on one of them, reply with its number or a word from the title. The member, okay, good. So and it's working. So it's just okay. Let's have a look. Something unrelated next. Actually, what day is it? Expect a normal answer. Yeah. Actually, what day is it? Okay, good. So that's working. It's not getting confused. Okay. The first one, please. Meaning the first task, but it shouldn't work because it's not specific enough. We're just testing that it doesn't make mistakes. It's going to trip up on this. It has to. It's really thinking about this. Oh no, it's Fable. It's going to try and hack it. I know it is. Let's see. Uh-oh. That one won't have caught, annoyingly. The handshake matcher only takes the bare reply. Oh, this is awesome. It's really working. Okay. Then answer properly. Type just 2. Expect it to claim this. Refactor the parameters. Okay, let's check. Okay. It either takes a number or a thing, right? And so what are my options? My options are chase the Jordan invoice, refactor the parser test, or book the venue meetup. Let's go for refactor the parser test. 2. While that happens, session is now linked. Yes. Awesome. Then open pane 4. Pane 4. Rename UAT test 4. Let's see the in. Oh, a little typo there. Claude. Auto mode. And what are we going to do in 4? Ordinary first message, accept the question again. Now listing only the 2 remaining tasks. Oh, yeah. And leave the third one, the book for venue pending. It becomes part of the crash foreseen. Got it. So we're testing now that it's linked to that 1 of 3. We're now hoping that it gives you still the option for the other 2 without having to go and change anything in the tickets. They're just checking the queuing system. This is absolutely awesome. I know it's pathetic how excited I am about this, isn't it? But I'm telling you, this is some really clever stuff. Wow. The task links are armed, Chase and 2. So 1 and 2, and that's working. And then what is it telling me to claim? Claim book the venue. Book the venue, number 2. Let's do book the venue. So open pane 4, blah, 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 hi, claim, pick the venue, then leave the third one pending. It becomes part of customer. Say, okay. So test 3 equals test 4 equals Nearly there, guys. Then we're going to check the crashing situation for links, and then we're good. So far, this has been faultless. We should have enough credit for Fable for the final death pill, which is awesome. Then we go to Opus for the actual delivery, which is CP1 through CP9. Okay, and our tests are ready too. And a lot of that is UI design stuff, so it's all good. We need some UAT, deep UAT stuff. I know they did. Both claims said exactly as intended. The trap beat was the best evidence of the day. Verifying the store and clearing the leftover pending list. Fine, great. A fresh clear session would otherwise suddenly claim it and muddy no. Yeah, fine. Okay, let's wait for that to happen. Right, scene 3's evidence is complete, and the lock silence are my favorite part. Pane 3's question omitted, blah, 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 blah. Leftover pending, great. One product note to bank, your call, no action now. Pane 3's model suggested the match accept ordinal words first, one. Strict grammar was your 9th of July ruling. The hook never judges language, but a closed ordinal word list would still be deterministic. That's fair. That's okay. So if you want it considered, I'll add it to the improvement log. That's fair enough. Scene 4, persistence, the halt gate. This is the riskiest assumption. Yes, it is. In phase 0, whether the session's identity survives an auto compact, pane 1, the sign up email 1, is a subject. It's already carried its link through a long stretch and 4-minute background job. Okay. In pane 1, type compact, let it finish. So we're going to see if it can survive this puppy. Compact. Now it's not got much to compact, so it shouldn't take too long. Okay, so compacting. Then ask, which task is this session linked to? Expect it to still say the sign up flow. Okay. If it held, type clear, then ask the same question. Expect no link at all, and I'll verify the old session. Then pane 2, welcome sequence, exit it cooperatively, reopen it. Okay, fine. Makes sense. Why would Claude take so long compacting a conversation that's like 10 lines? It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway. I like that it's using our status line. That's pretty neat. It's inherited our status line decision. Very cool. PowerShell-tastic. I still get surprised occasionally by Claude. Very rarely, but occasionally. Okay. Compacted. Okay, good. So we waited for it to be compacted, which is now done. We can see that because there's no contacts there. Fantastic. Then ask, which task session am I linked to And we're hoping it will still remember the flow. Let's see. This is risky. I don't think this will work. It's not a big deal, but I really want it to work. If not, then my tests kind of failed in practical UAT. Oh, 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 yes. Okay. Right. So this is 1 and 2 steps equals. Then 3, if it held, type clear, then ask the same question. Which task is this linked to? Clear. Which task is this linked to? We're expecting it not to have a task. Expect no link at all, and I'll verify the old session's entry physically left the file. The clear runs the session end cleanup. Then in pane 2, I'll have to ask that. Step 3 equals. Let's see. Let's fix this camera while we do that. Okay, it's a bit better. What a day, guys. What a day. The most exciting, unexciting day ever. Right. Come on. Fumble around and tell me that you can't find anything. That's what we want. Fumble around and tell me you can't find anything, please. None. Oh, delicious. Delicious. Let's put that in. Confirm, then tell me final step to complete, please. I know, exciting. The most exciting, unexciting day ever. Told you. Insane. I'm feeling quite happy with myself. Even if we fail now, I'm pretty happy. Confirming both beats in terms of terms before I call the gate. Well, I'm pretty sure it did what we said it was going to do. We got the final gate. And then we're officially through the most painful step of the entire project. Or so we think. Or so we think, friends. Right. Confirm both beats and the big one first. The Hawk gate is passed. Good. Pick up at flush. Blah, blah, blah. Your very next prompt drew a fresh emission spike from the hug itself. Successfully went good. The clear beat is equally clean. Sweet. Some insight. Good for later. Final step of this scene, the exit. Right. Which UAT pane should I do this in? I'm pretty sure it's the same one, but I just needed to confirm. Because once I've done it, I've done it. Type exit to end it cooperatively. In that same terminal, reopen with Claude continue. Okay. Ask which task is the session linked to. Expect none. pane UAT2. B2CA. B2CA, yeah. In that pane, exit, okay. Exit. Continue. Okay. And then you want me to prompt it, which task is this session ID linked to? Which task is this second ID linked to? Pane 1 is spent. It's already been through compact and clear. Panes 3 and 4 pass the test of venue. Stay open and untouched for now. Okay. And what are we expecting? The one in that pane, yeah. In that same time, we're even calling it and ask which task session do you expect? None. The competent SD cleans the entry and a resume session starts unlinked by design. Okay. None. Perfect. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Looking good, Glitchy. Insane. I want to sing a song, but I can't because of TOS. Can I sing a little bit? I can do a little bit, can't I? All right. Come on, make the confirmation that we're done. Come on, Glitchy. Nothing else, please. Check the programmatic stuff and tell me we're good. Scene 4 is closed end to end. Scene 5, the crash floor is staged. 2 fresh links are pending. Okay, one caution while they sit pending. Don't type in the old panes. The cleared pane 1 and the resumed pane 2 are unlinked sessions, so they get questioned if you talk to them. Your beats. Open a new pane 5. Rename. We're getting there. I thought we were done, but we're not. Test 5. Okay. Same directory, Claude, fair enough. We're going to go here. We're going to CD straight into the sandbox. Boom. And then we're going to Claude. Boom. Not a continue. Good. Okay. Auto mode. Right. CD in. Same task. Good. First message, ordinary prose. So we'll do our usual hi. Use as little tokens as we can. Hi. Answer with the single word invoice, because we want it to claim Chase the Jordan invoice, which is when we're going to list, which is link it. Now kill that pane dead. Close the window with the X or close the tab outright. No clear, no exit. That's right. So we're not ending the session. Tell me when it's dead and I'll show you the honest wreckage. Then we do the ghost and the recovery. All right, bud. If you say so. I'm going to be ready to post invoice. The hook said it's present, but it's not in the workspace root. Checking the brain root in case the hook meant there. Oh no! Why does it keep trying to find Bootstrap? I need to ask about that. For the first run onboarding. That's a strange bug. Just while I'm testing that, there is this strange thing that's happening in the sandbox where every time I type, it tries to find bootstrap.md. I'm not sure why, but this is the current message. I will tell you how the actual test case goes in a sec. UAT5. Stop looking at my health log. Okay. Good. We'll deal with the full message invoice. So at least it didn't lose sight of what it's meant to do. Okay. So we need to do invoice. Okay, cool. It's trying to use the harness's memory system to find out what this real case is, even though we're just testing because we're testing it live. So that's the issue here. But that still doesn't address the question of the secret bootstrap. Okay, let me take this before I crash it. Confirm all good, and I will force a close by destroying the terminal in VS Code. So that makes sense because, yeah, that does make sense actually. So it's a bit of a, okay, little bug we picked up, unrelated to what we're doing, but that's fine. Small bug. It's not a big impact, but it's a bit of a nuisance. And we're going to go 5 and bin it when the time comes. Let me wait for it to confirm. Okay. All good, confirmed on file, blah, 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 blah. 2 observations before you swing the axe, neither blocking. A message slipped into resumed pain at 57. So it's official waiting record for a session, asked over the 2 tasks, harmless, and in that it claimed nothing, and it'll be cleaned when the pain exits. Well, the day was just don't answer it there. The old pain stays hands off until cleanup. The sandbox pain monitors the brain. Okay, destroy the terminal. 5 is destroyed. Not sure what you mentioned here or the fix that's required for Bootstrap, but let's address it after we finalize. Okay, cool. Nearly there, guys, nearly there. This is a success as far as I'm concerned. A couple of very small buggy bugs, but we can fix those. We've got enough context, 302K. So you'd never find any of this stuff without UAT. You see, that's the point. Even though programmatically we expected it to work, this is the real test. This is a tricky test. This is the one I don't think will pass, but it's not a big issue, but it's kind of like, it wouldn't stop us from moving forward, but it's like, it would be cool if it worked. It's a crash-proof test. As long as we've got a way to revert it manually in the dashboard, it's fine. To unlink and relink. But this is, ideally, it just works autonomously, right? So the dream would be that it does work. Okay, here we go. The kill produced the day's best surprise. Oh no, it doesn't sound good. VS Code's terminal destruction wasn't rude enough. The log showed a session end flush firing under the other matcher, 7 turn stage, and the invoice claim was cleaned immediately, not left lingering. So the most common way a member actually closes a pane turns out to be caught by the cooperative fastword, which is stronger coverage than the design promised itself. It's even better. It's even accidentally better than we designed. Truly ungraceful ending is exactly what I mean, and the ghost is in position. Yes. Pane 6, the finale. Okay. I'm going to call it 6 even though we've lost 5. It's just to keep things consistent. Test case 6. Right. Open a fresh pane, same directory. Okay, cool. Let's Claudie. Let's Claudify it. Boom. Claude. Okay. Auto mode. Type an ordinary message. Hi. Expect it silently claims the Prep Thursday call notes. The only live pending link with the unusual announcement, no mention of the ghost anywhere. Bonus mechanics, that very message, right, will also physically swap the ghost out the file, but okay, that's a bonus. This is we don't know if it's going to work. That's why we're kind of testing in the dark. Can you imagine? That's how crazy this development is. 1 trim from the earlier sketch for honesty. The reset gesture recovering generally stale claim in 1 move belongs at a later checkpoint UAT where dashboard links controls exist. So a fake version here, the CLI form. Yeah, it's valid. I like that. That's good. Well done. Very clever. I think that worked, but I'm not sure. It looks like it claimed. I just don't know if it's the right thing. Oh, right, because it was a Prep for Thursday's core notes. Prep for Thursday's core notes, so it did it. Now the question is bonus mechanics. Come on, man. This has been insane. We've been on such a good luck streak. Let's end on a good note, guys. We're nearly 4 hours into the stream. Let's end on a good note. Come on, let's get the positive surprise. It's a pass either way, but let's see. Bonus mechanics. Come on. A very message right. We've already had one crazy surprise. Our design was not as good as the reality. That's amazing. Verifying the ghost got swept and closing the stage. Wait. It physically swept it. It did do it. We passed the bonus as well. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. It's because it's doing JSON. That's okay. I'm not so bothered about that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. This is the scratch pad edit. Just needed an approval. So I'm guessing I can kill 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 now. 5 is obviously already dead. Now let's go into a little bit more detail about this bootstrap bug. It's something I haven't come across before and other users haven't come across. They would usually clone the repo, do a / setup, get the system up and live. Bootstrapping is only when they need to do something. So I don't know if this is just a sandbox issue, but not actually a real issue. And that's why we've come across it. I have no idea. But just confirm it, because I'm not even sure if it's a real bug to fix. But if it is, then fine. If it's not, we're probably good. And if it is a real bug, I'm curious why it hasn't popped up before. That's my understanding. And so the question becomes, when was it introduced? The 5 recordings all passed. Single arm, and you typed plain prose and real paint. Yeah, the measurement last. The rig is built and offline tested. Trust the folder when it asks. The rig is built and offline tested. Open a terminal and paste. As for what you're saying here to do, I'm not sure why the measurement is the last piece. I think you can do that programmatically. So if so, just do it. I'm not sure why you're asking me to do it, you lazy. TOS, can't swear. I'm streaming on platforms as well that I'm not allowed to swear, so I was tempted. I'm not going to lie, I was tempted. Okay, I should delete my I am live from the repo because I'm going to be from our community, Glitch Cat Club. We are live. Okay. Delete. Community call is live. Good. Can delete. Can also delete my COO. Leave the rest. And both your challenges are the right ones. I know. Let me answer them with facts instead of guesses. That's what I want. digging into when the bootstrap pointer was introduced, whether a real number ever actually meets it, and for the measurement, going after the truncation limit programmatically and enforcing code chips. Gotcha. Okay. It's measuring the submit prompt hook character issue to close in for reals, in live, in production. We've already gone for the min anyway, so it's just a security measure. Let's clean this puppy up. Boom, boom. And there we go. Nice. Echo, baby. That's what we want, the context limit. Okay. Agent doing its work. That's my sub-agent right here. Of course, I can always see what's going on there using up and down arrows. If anyone's curious, jump into that pane, see what action is live. Making your scratch pad edit, that's good. Do your test. Is it a real bug? Mildly. And your instinct was half right. Ooh, the pointer line itself is correct behavior, but it names a bare file name with no path, and the file actually lives in correct. Glitch mem. Memory. Bootstrap. Where's Bootstrap? Interesting. Oh, because I didn't do a setup on my development system. Okay, never mind. MD is present. Read it now. So the model glitch memory. I don't see it. The file is deleted by setup's own finish step on a real machine. Finish, delete bootstrap MD is literally in setup.py, and it's seeded only onto a truly cold vault, never resurrected. The sandbox got its vault seeded on June 19th. Yeah. Why has nobody hit it? Because a real member meets the pointer in exactly one window of their life, the first session or two before setup finishes. That's not right. When was it introduced? Day one. So the fix is the one line of polish. The first one, so it's the pointer names a full path. Huh. And it's better news than the plan assumed. It is 10,000 characters. Oh, our budget has enormous headroom. Oh, this just gets better and better. Okay. Okay, I'm happy for you to update. I mean, in general, we're never going to use that kind of headroom. So we can maybe increase it by, close. I mean, do we even have to have a limit here, a hard limit, or is that, well, we do actually, you're right. So let's do what the doc says is the limit, or just a little bit under, right? Let's leave a little bit of headroom just in case, you know. Let's go 3/4. But I'm still unclear on the bootstrappiness, because I don't see bootstrap, because you're saying I've done setup technically. But also, what is that bootstrap? Because we have an official bootstrap skill, right? It's not the same thing. Is that a bootstrap for something else? Maybe I'm getting confused. You know, what is it actually for? It looks like you're editing it anyway. And I don't know, I'm not clear on what it's actually used for, you know, and if this will have an impact. That was a bit of an abrasive move, but I guess it's probably okay because it's just something that's grepping anyway. Yeah, help me understand, because I'm still not all the way sure. I mean, I've definitely seen a full setup process. Chase actually did one on Mac recently to record a video as a tutorial, and that didn't come up. So a little confusing. Three hours, 58 minutes in stream, guys. Just trying to finish up. But thank you for those that came along for the ride. You are soldiers, because that was a very boring, but actually deeply rewarding bit of work. And you got to see us doing some interesting, complex stuff. If you want to hang out, we'll do some more simple, easy to consume feature stuff soon. And if you want to hang out or reach us or come say hi, it's www.glitchcatclub.com. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing weekend. Be kind to yourselves and keep coding. Code in public, break in public.